morning and welcome to Sunrise. I am Alero Edu.
I'm Ayomakine. Good morning and welcome. If you don't know your date, I would have said go and check your calendar, but
you always give them the date, so please don't disappoint.
okay, it's November 4. And it's 9 o'clock now. Almost 9:01.
Now fight.
I'm just saying. And it's Saturday morning. Yeah.
My God, my partner's in a vile mood this morning, and I'm wondering what put him in that mood.
Well, it wasn't such. I'm not in as much of a bad mood as it happened in Imo State in the course of the week.
Oh, please, that. Well, allegations, counter-allegations. Well, the IG has promised an investigation into the matter, so we await the truth. But the truth, this morning I was watching The Black Book. I'll leave it there.
Okay. What I said in the course of the week, and I'm still going to say again, is the bad signals being sent out with the fact that the police was pitched against itself.
Yes. And that reminds me of
River
State.
Oh, okay.
River State. Some were protecting the governor, some were shooting at the governor, all policemen. What's going on?
That's really troubling.
What's going on?
Very, very troubling. You know, one thing that I think in both cases, incidentally, both cases involved the governor of the state, the Imo case and the River State case. When we had asked Dr. Samadiyemi, about, I think it was about the Rivers case, he was our guest on Wednesday. He said, look, at the end of the day, we must find a way to prioritize the people. And most of the time, that's where the problem is. He identified the different classes of that situation. So there is the legal angle, which is, being handled one way or the other by the lawyers. There's the political angle. The president has waded in, so those ones are sorted. But the leadership angle, that's where questions are raised. Because there can be no leaders without followers.
Abi?
And in this case, it definitely is something very, very concerning. So I guess we'll wait to see how it'll all turn out. But what happened in Imo State with the attack, so to speak, the physical abuse of the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, if I know Labour well, you've only strengthened them.
And guess what? While all that was taking place, the first thing that struck me was no lessons learned from NSAS. Sadly, no lessons learned. Well, they say that they took Ajero in for protective custody. So there was a suggestion that it was the thugs who brutalized him and gave him that black eye we saw, which is now requiring that he be flown abroad for treatment. And of course, Labour is going to say, we are the ones shouting about medical tourism, that they're wasting our money going for treatment abroad. Now, we ourselves are going. But if the man is about to lose an eye, what choice is Labour left with?
I can't say anyone is lying. But when the facts don't align, you tend to ask the question, if you don't know how to lie, just tell the truth.
No, my father used to say, if you must lie, then lie intelligently.
Because I'm still trying to understand how someone is taken to protective custody and he was not protected in the protective custody. Or did he fall and hit his head in the process
No,
of...
his face.
Hit his face
the
and get a...
black eye.
No, that one was black eye, one was swollen eye. So I'm trying to understand. It's horrendous just thinking about it. I'm not saying anyone is lying. I'm just saying, please, align the facts so that it can make some sense.
Lie to us intelligently.
I'm not going
Plausibly.
with you. I'm not going with what your dad is saying.
Okay. But it is the truth. If you don't lie intelligently, then we're going to pick holes in your lie.
Okay, so you are... as I said, I'm not going to be drawn into that temptation this morning.
Okay, all right.
So we
okay.
just leave that one there.
Okay, I'm glad that this Rivers thing is now, well, inching towards being resolved, because it was getting a bit messy and all kinds of allegations were flying here and there. And the minister for the Federal Capital Territory had to come out and say all kinds of things. Well, as they say, that's neither here nor there. Once again, we don't know if anybody is lying, and we're not saying anybody is lying.
But there is a particular truth we'll go with. And that's what the president said during the, I don't know whether it's the presidential retreat or ministerial retreat.
Retreat, yes.
Said, if you don't perform, no, he said, we'll give you some result. There was something, he said they sent up a unit to monitor.
And the monitor is a woman. The prefect is a woman.
Hey! Your life willing remain the same.
The prefect is a woman.
Yeah?
Is a babe.
It's okay. So he said, if we give you the KPIs, after some months, we'll review. If you perform, you continue.
You are okay.
If you don't perform, we review again.
Oh, we review again.
We review again.
Okay.
And then we now take a decision. Essentially saying, nah, man.
So
if you doesn't perform,
nah, man. Street pilot or more. If you don't perform,
yeah, the door is open.
the door
is open. So I think that's the way to go.
It's a clear message. If you're not ready to work, then please leave. And it's more respectable to leave now than to be told down the line that you did not perform, so please get out.
Which is likely to happen. We asked a number of people, do you see this president removing some people from office? Without flinching, they said yes.
Well, that much you can say for the president. He's always been result-oriented. If you're not performing, then you got no reason to be there.
And, but, you know, the thing that I keep saying, which is like a kind of blind side, is the civil service. I'm sorry, I'm there again.
Civil service?
Civil. It's a C in front of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
CIVIL.
Okay.
Yeah. So the one.
Evil.
No. That would be Ivil, but it's civil.
Oh, okay, Ivil.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know whichever one you're talking about.
Okay.
So it's a kind of blind side, you know, for many of us. When you see a vehicle performing well, it's looking all dashing, the car is looking good, it must be doing well. Next thing, you recognize this car is not moving as much as it's supposed to move. That's when you recognize, oh, it's the engine. Have we even identified the fact that the engine of this government, of any government, is faulty? Although civil servants have come out to I'm sorry, you guys have to just, you know, do something. Many of them have come out to say, look, you don't know the way civil service works. I agree. I don't know. But are you working? If you were,
make it work.
Exactly.
And yield results.
If you were, what happened to the refineries wouldn't happen.
Ouch.
In my opinion.
Raw nerve.
What happened with the refineries wouldn't happen. And you tell me it's because of some political head or something. I don't buy it.
And just before we go to the menu, the issue of these SUVs will not just go away.
No, it won't.
It was in the news all week again. And of course, the sentiment is, in this day and age, when people cannot afford to eat, you want to go and buy how many 400 and almost 500 SUVs for lawmakers? Isn't that being insensitive? And then the supplementary budget comes out, and there's a provision for a presidential yacht.
Oh, that's been responded to.
Well,
the Navy said it's theirs, and that they're trying to replace one that's gone under.
But the lawmakers didn't approve it.
Oh, no, the lawmakers...
They approved their cars.
Oh, well, this is not a yacht. It's not as expensive as a yacht.
Well...
It's just 5 billion. That's 5 billion is a lot.
How much is the money for the SUVs?
Not so much.
All 500 of them. Only 1 billion.
Only just one, maybe just
1 point something billion.
60 million naira one. But you know, it's because of our roads.
160 million each.
Yeah, it's because of our roads. We need a very strong vehicle.
And whose fault is it that the roads are bad?
It's
keep digging your own
civil
grave.
Service.
Keep digging your own grave. We're going to start with enforcing pollution laws in Nigeria.
And we'll move next to preserving and transferring wealth for the future. Evergreen and map by Meristem. That's the second item on our list today.
And then we'll be looking at the Duchess Hospital. Their waiting list initiative is what we're going to be talking about today.
RAC Center, a decade of empowering Nigeria's digital evolution. A decade? Who are they? What are they? Please keep the questions coming, and then we'll take you in on that later.
Then we'll turn our focus to estate planning. Estate planning. Does that have anything to do with these estates that have been going down recently?
Well, that's a question you just asked.
Okay.
The artist of the week today is a human being. What?
He's a he.
Oh, yeah, that.
He's a human being.
So grab your cup of cocoa.
Or cocoa.
And we'll be right back to get the show on the road.
Thank you for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning. Now, let's look at enforcing pollution laws. In recent weeks, we've seen the Lagos State Ministry of the Environment enforcing some laws, from shutting markets down to demolishing buildings, sealing up churches, to shutting nightclubs and bars. The fact is, Lagos is polluted and is dirty. From the air we breathe to the noise in the environment, all these make people sick. Well, we would like to say good morning to the General Manager of the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Babatunde Ajayi. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us this morning. Why this sudden, like they said in one movie that I watched, kitty kata, about enforcing the pollution laws in the state?
Oh, well, so thank you for having me. There is a new mandate. There's a mandate that is very clear from the governor and championed by the Commissioner for the Environment, Tokunbo Wahab. And it is to restore sanity, to reset orderliness in Lagos. So Honorable Tokunbo Wahab has taken the charge to deliberately, across all spheres of the environment, restore sanity. Like you said earlier, there's pollution all over the place. The largest volume of complaints we get is from noise pollution. And so we have taken a deliberate attempt at LASEPA to enforce the Lagos State Environmental Management and Protection Law 2017 and insist on keeping the noise levels low. The goal really is to make sure that everybody in Lagos can live a sane life. You don't necessarily have to pay so much to live in a gated estate before you can get sanity around you. So we have taken the charge to go to churches, clubs, mosques, schools, and everywhere else where we perceive a lot of noise, where people report all of these infractions to us.
Okay, your predecessor was here a number of times talking about especially this noise pollution business. And in fact, she gave her number that if people had noisy churches or mosques and so on, music shops in their areas, they could call her directly and something would be done about it. Do you have any information as to how successful that drive was?
It's important I mention that she's done an amazing job, at LASEPA. And she really did control the noise pollution in Lagos at the time.
Shout out to Dr. Fashawe.
She really did control the noise pollution at the time. But it's also important that we take it a notch higher and begin to enforce it more deliberately this time. So we're going beyond just checking them to actually sealing them for longer periods, making people go by an action plan that is set or that they give to us at the time we're unsealing, and taking the mandatory monitoring more seriously. So when we seal any place, before we unseal you, you have to give us an action plan. You have to give us a work plan over a 3-month period, over a 6-month period, where you have to soundproof your building, or you have to install noise meters, or you have to do several other checks to make sure that the sound doesn't disturb your neighbors. So we are more deliberate with monitoring now and compliance.
How much pushback have you received from your agency, and where are those pushbacks from? I assume you did. Okay.
So you definitely will get a lot of pushback from the religious homes, right? And it's interesting because we all attend different churches around town. There are several, most. There are several of us who attend churches that are totally soundproof, right? And there are so many of them around. I think we would also be deliberate with pushing the information out there that some people are actually doing it right. So what we do, when we get pushback, we engage them more productively. We try to talk to them. We explain what it is to them. Fortunately, we've not had cases where someone insists, I got a call from someone up there to unseal them. No. There's that allowance to do your job. Okay. So with the pushbacks, we're fine.
That is wonderful news because we saw the commissioner himself supervising the breaking down of some buildings which were built on drainage channels and all that. The question that came to my mind when I was watching that on TV was, somebody gave approval before these buildings came up. Somebody approved these estates. Whole estates were being pulled down. Somebody approved the building of those houses. So that you tell us now that there's nobody going to call somebody high up there to say, don't do this, don't do that. How is that going to work out? Because all these people who got approvals for building where they're not supposed to build are people who knew somebody up there.
Well, to the extent that there's documentary evidence of what you have said, I may not be able to confirm, and it's not directly under my remit. However, I can tell you categorically that not once have I gotten a call from either my commissioner, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, the governor, the deputy governor, or the Speaker of the House of Assembly to unseal any building. And if the calls are not coming from those places, I don't think there's anyone else I report to. So
the calls can't be important.
So I don't think that, to be honest, everybody gets the message. It's clear. Let us restore sanity in Lagos. It's a very bold thing to do. It's a very clear message we have to send to people. We can't continue to grow up in places where we can't breed children in places where they're exposed to so much noise, so much pollution with, generator fumes and all kinds of things in the air. We really need to restore it. We need to return to those days when we're fine.
But Lagos is a big place.
Correct.
And I'm thinking now about the public transport on the road. What kind of training is going on to teach them not to play music on their car honks. That, I mean, blaring on your horn permanently is doing damage to your ears, is disturbing people's health, you know, all those kinds of things. I mean, I see that as an uphill task. How do you intend to tackle that?
So, looking at the data we have, right, noise pollution from cars is the highest, but it's mostly not in residential areas. A lot of people are more concerned about the noise in their neighborhood, in the residential areas. They want to sleep on a Sunday morning. Particularly, if we are going to dive deeper into the noise at the bus stations and, you know, all over the place, we do a lot of advocacy in those areas as well. We're partnering currently with the Lagos State Parking Permit Authority and the NURTW to do deliberate campaigns at our bus stops to talk to bus drivers. Lagos also does, or LASEPA does, a noise-free day, noise-free week campaign where we make sure that, you know, these people are enlightened on the damage they are doing to their health with blaring horns everywhere. So it is really just a lot of advocacy in the commercial space and on the roads. You really may not be able to enforce to the letter, you know, on commercial roads. However, in residential areas, we're very, very keen on making sure people have at least sanity around their homes.
You know, it's interesting that we're trying to pay attention to that. Let me ask you, please. This campaign against noise pollution dates back a very long time.
Correct.
If you can try to track its history, when did it really start? I think I remember even as far back as the Fashola days.
Correct.
When, you know, they would go to churches and mosques to pull down their mega horns or
Correct.
whatever it is. So how, if you can remember, and when did it start, and what's been the progress so far?
So it started in the early 2000s. The actual, you know, campaign started in the early 2000s, and it's been consistent. So what has happened so far is that our noise pollution and our general pollution laws have improved. So we revised in 2017. Our pollution laws, because they've gotten better, enforcement has gotten better, and well, I would say that it depends on, you know, how daring you want to go and the times of the year. At this time of the year, there's a lot of activity. You know, we're getting to close of the year, so there's a lot of activity. You expect that there will be a lot of noise. As per history, at every point in time with successive administrations at LASEPA, they have deliberately stemmed, you know, the tide of noise pollution in Lagos.
What does the data say to that effect?
So the data says that, one, we have identified more causes, and a lot of them have been clamped down to the extent that several areas in Lagos are not allowed to do certain things. You really cannot just match up 5 houses and say you want to form a factory in a residential area, for instance, right? So LASEPA is deliberate about making sure that new noise pollution sources do not spring up in residential areas at the very least, right? And that has progressed. So there's partnership with several other government agencies to make sure that when you're converting a building from residential to commercial, we're able to stop you. You know, you can't just say, I want to convert this building to an event center in the middle of an estate, right? You need approvals on different levels. So when we have to check that, at any point in time when it gets to the building control, they would ask LASEPA, is this appropriate? Is environment approving this? Are you introducing a new pollutant into the environment? If you're not, then you can go ahead. If you will be, then we need to stop that. So we've done that over time, and we have progressed gradually from just chasing after churches to having full control over new kinds of pollution. For instance, shotlets who just open next door and start hosting parties every Friday evening, you know, and then disturb the neighborhood. So we're able to reduce some of these things from time to time and then take charge of the narrative, you know, as we go on.
Now, there are. You said that these laws, you know, have improved over time.
Correct.
I suspect that laws will give birth to regulations.
Correct.
What are these regulations? And how do we put it out? Because I'm not sure many people are aware of some of these noise pollution regulations.
So we have very specific, and exact noise pollution regulations in Lagos, to the extent that we have certain measures or decibels of sound that you cannot exceed in certain areas, right? You expect that your school will be the most quiet, So schools have a threshold of about 35 during the day, and yes, 35 at night as well. Then to residential areas, and then to mixed-use areas, then to commercial areas and industrial. For industrial areas, you expect decibels of up to about 85 during the day and at night. For commercial areas, it's about 80 or 75, So depending on the kind of activity you do or the kind of area you are, there are specific regulations. The numbers are out there, and we push it out as much as we can. I'm sure we've shared it with you before, and then we'll continue to push it out, continue to share with people.
I'm thinking about areas like Ojuelegba and Nnamdi Azikiwe. Those areas. Those the CD and music business people. How do you intend to control them?
So what's interesting? We actually do clamp down on those people. Right, so my predecessor established 20 zonal offices. So it means that you have one office in one local government. And we actually go there, we seize their instruments and keep them in our store until they are willing to turn that speaker into their own shop, which they won't do, right? So we just seize them.
It's the purpose is defeated if I turn it into my shop.
Exactly.
I'm making the noise so that you all can hear me and know that I'm selling CDs and stuff here.
So, for instance, I don't think that business model, that thing where you sell CDs, I don't know how many people still have CD players in their houses. But, whenever we have noise pollution in certain areas like that, our zonal office in that area will go there and clamp on those equipment. We still do it, I can assure you. Yesterday we visited 3 zonal offices, and the one in Surulere, I know very clearly does it. We're at Lekki as well, the entire Ogombo area, and Aja. They seized a lot of them. I opened their store, I saw it.
What about the mobile ones?
So what's interesting?
I don't know if they still do it now, but it was something that we used to see in those days. They carry their thing on their shoulder, their player, and they're carrying their cassettes and stuff. Well, not cassettes anymore, whatever it is that they carry these days. And they're walking around the market playing loud music.
So for markets, you expect a sort of higher permissible sound level, right? However, it is not allowed for you to carry those loudspeakers and, deafen people as you move along. So if you are caught, it will be impounded in a market. Even in a market, if you are caught with those loud musical instruments, it will be impounded. In Lagos now, I don't think anybody still goes around with cassettes and, those cassette players. I've not seen them in such a long time. I think we've morphed out of that business, as it were. But in every other place, Okokomaiko, Ajangbadi, there's a decent spread of LASEPA operations and activities across Lagos. And we're able to significantly clamp down on noise pollution. We're able to, tell people, do a lot of advocacy with explaining.
What about pollution from cars? How do you deal with that?
You mean emissions?
Yes, emissions.
Fantastic. So emissions are a somewhat different kind of pollution, right? It's also air pollution, but it is a little more poisonous, as it were, right? So it has far-reaching effects, and then, all of the climate change and, pumping of carbon dioxide into the air and all of that. And a lot of our green is eroding. So what we have done deliberately is to first start the advocacy of converting some of our petrol vehicles to CNG. We've modeled some at LASEPA, and we have preached it across Lagos, right? Secondly, there's a lot of noise, or there's a lot of talk around measuring how much how much carbon you generate from those vehicles. So the campaign has started, to make sure that most of your vehicles are fixed and then they don't pump out some of those poisonous things. And with the Ministry of Transport, there is a partnership to, at the point of vehicle inspection, if you are pumping too much of carbon out, you will have to fix the problem before you are approved. So there's a Lagos State Vehicle Inspection Service. Okay,
this CNG campaign.
Yes.
Approximately how much will it cost for one to convert a little a small saloon car?
Okay.
So gas.
Well, so at my last check, it was under 150,000 naira to do that conversion, depending on the sophistication that you want, right? If you...
There are various levels of sophistication.
Yes, obviously. So
please tell us about them. Since you want all of us to convert by what year?
Well, so we said 2025, but we now have to give it more time.
Okay.
If I'm going to be giving numbers, then I would be delving into the commercials of it, and I won't want to advertise any organization.
No, you don't need to give us the name. Mm-hmm. Tell us approximately how much it'll cost, what levels of sophistication or whatever it is that are available, so that people can begin to put this in their budgeting. Oh, yes.
So the technicalities are that if you are converting an SUV and you want a tank that is, huge enough, you could be doing up to ₦1 million naira. Or a little more.
Ouch.
Yeah. If you are using a tank that is big enough and you're converting an SUV to CNG, from petrol to CNG, then you could be doing up to ₦1 million naira.
About how long does a tank last?
It lasts longer.
Like how many kilometers?
I can't say specifically now, but I can immediately do the numbers right after and then share.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a noise pollution question from Isolo.
Okay.
How do you tackle extreme noise pollution from several churches in residential areas? I'm referring to Isolo area where this is prevalent from OK.
Right. So OK needs to send us an email or call our numbers or send us a message on Twitter or
Okay, I was going to
Facebook.
ask you anyway, how do people complain?
Okay, so we have several reporting lines or complaint lines, where we get feedback from the public. On Twitter, we're at LASEPA Official. On Facebook, we're at LASEPA Official. The email is info@lasepa.gov.ng. Our phone numbers are...
At LASEPA?
Yes, .gov.ng. Our phone numbers are usually on our pages.
Okay, this is your website?
Yes, that's our website.
Okay.
So if you...
Is there a complaint button somewhere on the website?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
There is a complaint button somewhere there.
Okay. If
you click that form, you fill the details of where you're calling from or where you have that problem.
Okay.
We'll get it at the back end immediately. Okay. The zonal office in that area.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's your showing how people can get across to you.
Yes.
And drop all this information.
So if you fill it, we get the form on the back end. It goes straight to the zonal office, and they come to you immediately, or give it 24 hours. Someone is going to come to you. To the person who's complained, they're going to call you. They would get a proper understanding of the complaints. They would visit the complaint sites. We've had people complain about 6 churches on the same streets.
How many of them do you shut down?
I can assure you that we will shut down every single one of them if they don't comply by regulation. So what we do is, when we come, we send you a first abatement notice to say that someone has complained about this noise. You need to reduce it to this level. It has to go below 55 decibels at night because you're hosting vigils. After 1 week, if the person still complains, we send you a pre-sanction notice. If you don't improve, then we come and shut you down. So we don't just go straight to shut you down. Every single place you have seen us shut down has gotten 3 notices.
At least.
At the very
Some
least.
complainants would like to remain anonymous.
Well, yeah, but if you're filling our forms, we cannot really keep you we can keep you anonymous from the offender. Yes.
So here's another one from Another source says, I live around additional area of Ijesha-Tedo, Surulere. How I wish this man could visit this area, say Friday night down to Monday morning, and see what is called noise pollution. In other words, you don't even know what noise pollution is. So he's saying there are so many mushroom churches in every house. Some of them attend night vigils every night, Monday through Sunday. Thursdays is a whole day. Check it out. That's from Fred.
So, Fred, thank you for this feedback. Additional in Ijesha-Tedo in Surulere, right? I'm sure someone is going to pick it up. The Surulere Zonal Office will immediately visit. However, we're going on a campaign to make sure that religious houses and event centers soundproof their buildings within the next 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, it's going to be a massive campaign in Lagos.
Okay. We've run completely out of time, but I can just take your last word on this. Please talk to the people and tell them what you want them to do and why you want them to do it.
So it's very important that we keep our environment safe. It's very important that we protect other people from the nuisances that we create. It's also important that you are not the reason someone else is moving out of their house, right? Keep your noise level very low. Keep your emissions from your generators and all of those pollutants you release very low. LASEPA is watching. We'll come for you if the complaints continue. Thank you very much.
Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, General Manager of Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much
for coming to create awareness for this. And I hope that we, the residents of Lagos, will begin to comply more, because in the end, it's for our own good.
100%.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation.
The future you deserve and desire for yourself and your loved ones begin with the move you make today. That's what Meristem wants to tell us this morning. Evergreen by Meristem is a customized, all-in-one inclusive plan designed to bring you peace of mind. Now, while with MAP, you can conveniently consolidate all your assets in a single platform and designate beneficiaries for each one. Two ladies join us this morning to give you better understanding, because as far as you're concerned, I've just spoken English. Ima Asema is Team Lead Wealth Advisory, Meristem Securities Limited. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
We also have Mofoluwa King, who is Team Lead Trust Services, same Meristem Securities Limited. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so first of all, tell us, what's this whole thing about? Future, Evergreen, and Wealth for the Future, Evergreen, and MAP by Meristem.
MAPP.
So basically, Evergreen by Meristem is a service that puts together retirement planning, that puts together estate planning, and MAP by Meristem is a link or an app that where you can put together your assets and then basically have an overview of what you actually have and then decide how to transfer those assets. So that's what we're talking about today.
So when should people start planning for retirement?
Oh, the first day you get your first paycheck. Ideally, when you get your first paycheck. But in practice, that's not the case, and that's not what really happens. So I would say, they say the best time to plant a palm tree was 20 years ago. Next best time is now. So once you've heard about it, once you've come to the realization that I need a retirement plan, then you should quickly start planning. Call someone, call an advisor, and start planning.
And if you're retired?
And if you're already retired, what you can do is also speak to an advisor. You can then look at those assets you already own and put them together and decide how your retirement can go for you.
Well, I'm assuming that you have already started yours as well.
Oh, yes.
Don't even answer if you don't want to. But, it's expected that people make some mistakes, right? So what are some of the common mistakes and challenges people face when they talk about planning for their retirement?
the biggest mistake is not having a plan at all. And that's one of the things. People just assume that once I have assets, once I have some sort of investments put aside somewhere, I have a plan for my retirement, and that's not the case. And one of the challenges is the fact that people don't know where to start or how to start. So it's important that once you come to the realization, like I said earlier, you then speak to someone and put those plans in place, because retirement planning, a lot of things come into play. You need to check what inflation is, what interest rate projections are, what the time horizon to retirement is, and several other things need to put in place, need to be looked at before a retirement plan is done. So speaking to someone, speaking to an expert is very, very key in planning your retirement. And then going into things you don't understand in retirement is a big mistake that a lot of people make. Starting a business, for example, in retirement when you've never done a business before, never been a business person before, is one of the major mistakes that a lot of people make in retirement as well.
Interesting. I understand there is also such a thing as estate planning.
Yes.
Is there a difference between that and retirement planning?
Oh, yes, there's a difference. So, like my colleague Ima said, retirement planning helps you plan for the retirement. And like she also said, even after retirement, planning that phase of your life is very important. And one tool here is necessary in all that planning is estate planning. Now, when most people hear estate planning, they think we're talking about real estate, and that's not the case here. Estate planning in this instance is planning what you own. Anything you own, the clothes off your back, the shares in any shares you have, the money in your bank account, all those things, there's a need to plan it. Not just planning it for now, but also planning it for tomorrow. When you're planning your retirement, how you transfer it to your beneficiaries, how you transfer it to your loved ones. That is the part estate planning takes care of. It helps you give a detailed plan that suits your lifestyle, that suits your own beliefs, that suits your needs. So that's what estate planning does.
So how does that relate with retirement planning?
Good. So when you're retiring, you have to plan how you'll be taking care of yourself and how your beneficiaries, probably you have dependents, you have people you take care of, you have people, kids in school, have aged parents, all those people have to be planned for. So what we offer Evergreen is a combination of both estate planning and retirement planning. So it gives you a holistic view to see how you, not just yourself, will be taken care of, but also those that you love, and plan it seamlessly and within the ambit of the law to ensure that even when you're not here, ultimately, those things still keep going on.
So what you're saying is that it's not just good enough for me to have or own these assets.
Yes.
Exactly.
I need to have them in my brain, like on a spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's
what MAP does.
I wish I could hug you. That's what MAP does. So that is why your brain, as awesome as the brain is not sufficient to hold all that data. So we have, like my colleague introduced, MAP.
Yeah.
That is called, is an acronym for Monitor, Assign, Plan, Protect. What it does is help you
monitor, assign,
plan, and protect.
Okay.
So what MAP does is to lay it bare for you, let you see it, right? Some people buy things and forget about it.
She does.
Well, people do.
Don't look at me.
I'm sure.
Don't look at me.
I'm sure everyone does. No exceptions.
I don't know about everyone.
Well, let's leave that. So MAP allows you.
My eyes are throwing daggers at you.
I'm sure he can feel them. So I'm sure everyone gets things. I'm sure you look through your wardrobe one day and just, oh yes, I actually have this. You look through something and say, oh yes, this pen is still in my bag.
That's true for a lot of women.
Yeah,
is
a lot of humans.
Really? Where did this come from?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of them are here.
Yeah.
So that's what MAP does. It lays your assets
Monitor,
monitor,
assign,
assign, plan,
and protect. Yes.
Okay.
So it lays it bare for you. You can see it, you can plan it, you can assign it, you can monitor it, and you can protect it.
You can
So that's
remember
what
you have
that's what MAP stands for.
I said that you can remember you have it.
Yes.
You can remember you have it. Possibly even number them.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you're not likely to forget that you own a property in Ikoyi, for instance.
You'll be shocked.
You'll be surprised.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You'll
Yes.
be shocked.
Well,
Some
she is
people
shocked.
have bought assets years ago. Yes. Some people did collectives when they started their careers and forgot all about. Some people bought shares when they were 18 in school, somebody probably sold something to them and forgot all about it. That happens all the time.
Well, I wish there was MAP when I was a lot younger, because I know that I bought a life policy with some insurance company, and I don't know what happened to it.
It's not too late.
Oh?
So that's
so
it.
What do I need to do? Please tell me.
You can still track it. If you can remember the insurance policy, the insurance company can still be... Yes, then you can track it and add it. So then you don't forget about it again.
I think the insurance company is dead.
Can help you.
I think so.
But how about NDIC? That's why we have NDIC, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
Good. So you have educated her. You paid to educate her. Anyway, let me come back to you.
Exactly.
So, Evergreen by Meristem, what is exactly, you spaded it the other time, what exactly does that mean, and what informed the need for this?
Evergreen by Meristem, like I said earlier, is a service that encompasses retirement and estate planning. It puts the features of both services together, and then helps to take away the struggle or the hassle of fragmented planning. So I have a retirement planning somewhere, I have estate plan, I want to open a trust somewhere, but what Evergreen by Meristem does is to take all that and put it together, give you a holistic view of what you have. And then what informed it? So we had quite a number of clients and prospects who were concerned about what happens to their assets in case of incapacitation or any eventuality, really. And there were also a lot of people who had relocated abroad or were relocating and were not sure how to cater to their loved ones in Nigeria, their age parents mostly in Nigeria. So Evergreen by Meristem was created out of that need, as a solution to that problem, to say, okay, let's create something where people can put away assets and retirement plan is not new, but let's create something that people can easily put away their assets, we sit down with you and then draw up a plan to cater to your retirement, pre-retirement. And then, like she said earlier, there are people who post-retirement, so the age parents, for example, will already be post-retirement. So, but individuals can then say, okay, I'll put away this sum, and you create a plan that caters to my parents or caters to my loved ones because I'm not there anymore, and you can give them a monthly payment, a monthly statement. But it's not a question of, oh, just give my parents 50,000 every month. It's a question of what do they actually need and what would be sufficient for them. How can we grow this portfolio to ensure that it can cater to or provide adequate cash flow for my parents? And then I'm not going to be back in Nigeria anytime soon. What happens to these monies I've put away? Let's assume parents are no more or something. So it creates like a wealth transfer vehicle. So after they are no more, after the beneficiaries are no more, what then happens to those assets? That's where Evergreen by Meristem, and that's where the estate plan portion of that service comes in. So you've created from the beginning, you create everything. How assets are distributed. You create an accumulation platform, and then you create a distribution platform to say you've grown your wealth, you've preserved your wealth. How then do you transfer your wealth? So it puts together all that wealth management, all that service. So that's what really Evergreen by Meristem is about.
Okay, you've just spoken about children, for instance, instituting that kind of whatever it is for their parents.
Yes.
And specifically, you spoke about those who are not in the country. Suppose it is somebody who wants to set this up for when he retires. Okay, let's say I'm 30 years old now, multiply that by 3. And then I want some kind of income when I have retired, when I'm 65, 70. I want something that will come in every month. How do I set that up? And how do I go about it?
As a matter of fact, that's the primary use of retirement planning. So, like I said earlier, it starts when you get your first paycheck. So, the target really is people who are earlier, who have a long time to retirement, but because it's easier to plan when you have a longer time to retirement, it's less burdensome to plan when you have a longer time to retirement. So, for someone who is 30 years, for example, you are the ideal person to actually start buy into the service where you can have a longer term horizon to say, okay,
Evergreen.
Yes, the Evergreen service, where you can say, okay, I'm going to retire in 35 years, which is 65. I would like to travel in my retirement. I would like to start up a charity. I would like to do this. So every single thing, both non-financial and financial, is thought about when you are setting up. What will your social life be like in retirement? If you are someone that is currently not very social, or doesn't play any sport, or doesn't do anything that really brings you out to socialize, those are the kind of conversations you'll be having with your advisor to say, okay.
I would like to be able to go on a cruise when I retire.
Things like that,
I'd like to be able to have a social life, go out like twice a month to a party or something.
But you do those already.
Sorry?
You do those already.
Well, I want to continue doing them. So how can I continue doing when I don't have an income? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to continue doing them.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to invest. Just say. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so Evergreen maintains your lifestyle. That's why it's called Evergreen. So it maintains your lifestyle post-retirement. So I was doing these things. You see a lot of people, they retire and they don't look the way they used to look. So what Evergreen for you does is to ensure that you look even better when you retire. So we're telling you, oh, given this is how much you need to be putting away. There's a whole lot of simulation that is done to say, okay, this is how much you need to be putting away in order to have adequate cash flow when you retire, to have that kind of lifestyle
after you retire.
And the earlier the better. So yeah.
Okay, well, she's just 30. She already. Let me come to you, Shop. So let's paint a scenario. Okay. I put my assets on map, and something happens to me. You're gonna tell me what happened to me, and then after that, what else? I mean, can my family look at my assets? Are you going to reach out to them for me? Exactly, how does that work?
Okay, thank you for that. Like I said, you're meant to monitor, assign, plan, and protect. So, in your planning and assigning, planning, and protect bit, what you do on the app, on the web page, is to assign people, like contact people, right? That these people are the people I want you to get in touch with if anything
next of kin.
No, really. Yes, for contact purposes. Let me not delve into that, because next of kin is basically contact people, nothing more. They do not get to inherit. Just information.
They're beneficiaries now.
Beneficiaries and next of kin are different.
No, I'm talking about this.
Yes, yes. Okay. So they are beneficiaries. You can also put contact people on the app. So beneficiaries that you have assigned those assets to. Right? So you say, I have a plot of land here, I'm assigning it to this person. I have this here, I'm saying this person. But you also have contact person. So going back to your question of what if something happens and then you need to reach out to people. Anyone that creates an account on that platform, we get your contact details and we check up on you every quarter. Not for proof of life or anything, it's just to follow up. So we check on you.
Of course, it's to make sure that I'm still alive.
That's not the key.
Oh, come on.
That's not the key.
We all know.
It's for all ages.
Yeah, okay, you're being nice. Okay, you don't want to say it.
It's to check up.
Okay, check up on me. Why are you checking up on
doctor,
me? I'm not ill.
Anyway.
No, just to make sure that you are...
I'm alive.
You're alive.
Carry on. We forgive you.
You didn't know you were coming here to us, did you? Okay.
No, yes, proof of life is one of it, but also to make sure your welfare, your well-being is also part of it.
So if I'm ill, what are you going to do about it?
Or just to check up, is to make sure that all your things on map are accurate and to just check up on you. It's also part of our brand promise as Marriage Step. So, yes. Yes. Okay. So it's just to make sure we contact those persons if we can't reach out and just make sure that you're okay back end. Yes.
Okay. Suppose that these beneficiaries are underaged.
Yes.
One is 5. The other one is 7.5.
Yes.
And the third one is 6. So how do you contact them?
Okay, so when you have any persons as beneficiaries under 18 years old, we always ensure that you put someone called a guardian. Okay. So that person has to be an adult that you assign, that you trust, that we then can reach out to, because obviously those people are under it. So anyone below 18, when you fill in all the information on that platform, you are prompted. It's actually a step and information you have to impute before you can move to the next step.
So how do you ensure that this contact person is doing what is expected?
Or what?
And not...
Well, you assigned the person.
What if I don't have anybody else?
You are the one that assigns. Okay, let me also speak to the fact that this just is a prelude to actually planning, is to putting in legal steps. So why this came about was because we found out that a lot of people have this reluctance in writing a will or doing a trust. There's always this morbid fact that, oh, once I do this, my death certificate is going to be issued the next hour. So a lot of people, that fear is what we're trying to address. Okay, before you take that step, look at all the assets. Look at it, assign it. But you're not transferring. It leads to transfer. There's a transfer leg in it. But some people don't go that stage. But at least it's a prompter in the right direction. That you're actually taking the steps to plan, monitor, assign your assets before you then eventually transfer through the legal means provided.
So are there customizations that go into planning for this evergreen map?
Yes.
I'm coming to you too.
Yes, they are. The beautiful thing about all these tools is because they are very individualistic. What suits you might not be what's preferable for me. Because our dynamics, our family dynamics, our individualities must come to bear in all these tools. So those are taken into consideration when we are making these plans for you.
Yeah, same with Evergreen. So Evergreen takes into cognizance what you want, what your dreams are, what your hobbies are, what your obligations are, what you like to
life
do,
too.
what your cruise life could be like. So there's no one size fits. So it's a very, very, very customized service. It's not like a pension plan where you just get a particular debit and all that. It takes into cognizance your individuality. It says, okay, Ima likes to do this. How do I pay for? Because every non-financial dream we have has financial implications. So what does Ima need to put aside to achieve her hobbies, to achieve her dreams, to achieve her obligations or her desire for a legacy? So it takes into cognizance that, and it's very, very customized, yes.
Is it possible for me to access this investment on Evergreen, or I have to wait until I retire?
No. Well, yes, it's possible to access. That's the short answer. But the long answer is it's a retirement portfolio. So if you've not retired, why would you be accessing it? It's not advisable to begin to dip into your retirement portfolio, your retirement savings when you've not retired, which is why our pensions are very strict with those things. But because it is a portfolio or a service that is flexible and it allows you to diversify, it understands that things will come up. It understands that your situation might change and you may need to adjust it. So even when we decide, okay, this is how much you need to put away, your dreams can change. You can say that, you know what, I don't want to go on a cruise anymore. I want to give all my money to charity, and this is how much I want to give, and then we change the entire plan. So your entire plan can change. So really, yes, you can take, but it's unlikely that in the first 1 year of instituting the plan, you would be able to take money out of the plan.
But if I want to, I can.
Oh, yes, if you absolutely want to, you can.
Okay, let me ask you this. I don't know who can take this. Someone is watching you right now, listening to you and saying, okay, I can trust them. They look like angels. I want to move my investment from somewhere to either of this. Is that something
From IO Pension Services?
No. IO Pension Services is very, very secure. Thank you very much. But is that possible?
That's very possible. So moving, like MAP is to monitor, assign, plan, and protect, right? So you just have to go to the web page and upload that information. Okay. So moving it is what you then move it to. If it's the retirement plan you want to create, is then what you move to Evergreen, who then helps you not only plan for now, but like I said, also transfer. So it's very possible. I think that's the short answer. Now,
yeah, like she said, it's very possible. But one thing that is very important to note is that a retirement plan does not take away from pension. Yes. When you're drawing up a retirement plan, part of the things we consider is what's your current RSA balance, how much you contribute to your RSA, what is the future value of your RSA, by RSA I mean retirement savings account, what is the what balance would you have in 10 years? And all those things come into play when you are drawing up or when you are simulating what your retirement plan would be like. So, yes, you can move your existing investments, your existing assets to that retirement plan, but it also doesn't take away from pension you have with a pension fund administrator. It doesn't take away from property you have that you're getting income and rent from. all those things are put into place. So we have like an overview of all you own, and we decide that, okay, this is, oh no, you shouldn't be holding this at this age. You shouldn't be holding this. You can reassign and redivide. So we look at your portfolio, we rebalance it, restructure it, and say, okay, this is what you need to do and to achieve that.
Yeah, but Emma, all this is not going to be done by Meristem for free.
Of course not.
Exactly. So what are the hidden, what are the small prints, as they say?
So, and that's the great thing about Evergreen. So Evergreen is quite cost effective in the sense that rather than having an estate plan, you pay a sign-on fee. You have a retirement account, you pay a management fee. You pay just one fee for the entire, for retirement planning, for estate plan, and any other perks that come with having Evergreen by Meristem. So you pay just one sign-on fee, and then you pay an annual management fee. Which is very, very negotiable.
Does the sign-on fee depend on what I'm bringing to the table?
No. Sign-on fee doesn't depend on what you're bringing to the table.
Flat rate of?
Yes.
Of?
It's 70%. It's a complicated fee, but yeah.
Complicated? That's not going to be encouraging to anybody who's listening to you this morning?
So you could pay, well, it's a minimum sign-on fee of 200,000. And it takes care of your estate plan, it takes care of your retirement plan and all that, so yeah.
That's what we're talking
Well, they must assume that you have a huge portfolio, 200,000 to start with.
I mean, considering the dollar to the naira now,
It's
probably
next to nothing.
Did you hear her? She said it's next to nothing. Don't answer that one yet. I just wanted to ask, and I'm usually afraid to ask this question since the last episode, but hey, I'm asking anyway, because people want some more information, so you may not be able to answer all their questions now. I want to believe that either on your webpage or some parts of your website, there are downloadables that can answer some questions that people have. Do you have a website?
Yes, we do have a website.
Okay.
meristemng.com. www.meristemng.com.
Okay, that's easy.
Yes.
Thank God. Okay, so that's your website there, right?
Yes.
This is some of your frequently asked questions. Okay. Okay, so is there a place on your website? Okay, talk to us about that questionnaire we just said, Evergreen questionnaire.
Yes, so once the first place to start is the questionnaire. So once you send us an email, you can send us an email, wealthmanagement@meristemng.com, and send you a link to this questionnaire. You can also find the questionnaire on our website. You just click it, fill it. Once you fill the questionnaire, an advisor will contact you to take the conversation forward, because it's a very personalized service. You will need someone
you need to slow down.
Okay, sorry.
Good. So we send the email to
wealthmanagement@meristemng.com.
Management written out in full.
Yes, in full. Wealth management info @meristemng.com. We'll send you a link.
Management@meristem.com.
Yes, meristemng.com.
meristemng.com. Okay.
Yes, please. Once you send an email indicating your interest in Evergreen, you will get a link. That's Evergreen. Link to the Evergreen questionnaire. You can also find the questionnaire on our website as well. And you complete that questionnaire, and then an advisor, will contact you to take the conversation forward, because it's a very personalized conversation that needs to be had.
I believe this is similar for
MAP.
MAP is map dot.
No, so let me come back to the question about payment.
Okay.
MAP is a free service.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Very free.
When it's free, be suspicious.
Actually, that's not the case here. Like I said, we are trying to encourage. We find that people are scared of planning, estate planning, scared of putting things.
People are scared of free stuff. There's no free lunch, not even in Freetown.
Well, it's a web, platform, and you can just go there. It's MAP, MAPP at Meristem.
MAP capitals or?
Yes.
Okay, MAPP in caps.
Yes. At Meristem.
.meristem. If it's a web page.
Okay, yes. .meristem. Thank you.
Meristem.
Trustees. Yes.
Meristem trustees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. .com. Yes.
Okay. map.meristemtrustees.com.
Yes.
Right. So are you saying that on MAP,
Yes.
everything I need done will be done online.
Yes.
I don't interact with any person.
No. Yes.
Okay.
Monitor,
So,
assign.
and when I
plan,
have questions,
you can definitely reach out to us at trustees.
Okay, so this is it.
trustees. Trustees.
At meristemng.com.
Okay.
So, okay, there are some frequently asked questions on your
Yes.
landing page. 7 of them. When should I establish a trust? Who owns the property in a trust? What kind of assets are important to establish a trust? How can the beneficiary withdraw money from a trust? etc, etc. That website again, MAP, M-A-P-P.
In caps.
No, small caps. .meristemtrustees.com. Meristem is not merrymakers. MERISTEM trustees, one word.
Yeah.
.com. Then they promise you peace of mind, security, and privacy, and build for you all of that. Okay, is there anything that we should? Okay, that's the
Any
website.
last words?
Anything
Emma?
that we need to ask you?
The most important thing is to start to do something. It's very important that after this time, people actually go ahead and begin to plan their retirement, begin to contact Meristem to say, okay, you know what, I heard about this and I want to plan my retirement. So if there's anything that's important from this session, it's actually taking the first step to make a plan.
In parentheses, is that a common practice in Nigeria?
Yes, so it's commonly available, but it's not commonplace to find people who do it.
Okay.
Your last words.
Okay, if you have something, plan for it now. So that's it.
And if you have nothing?
Plan also. Either we plan now.
Ima Asema, Team Lead Wealth Advisory, Meristem Securities Limited, as well as Mofoluwasho King, Team Lead Trust Services, Meristem Securities Limited. Thank you both for being here this morning.
Thank you
Thank you so much for having us.
And we wish you all the best. I hope this has not been too scary for you.
Not at all. And I'm looking forward to your sign up.
Well, yes, when I collect my voter card.
Remember, it's your free service, so I'm looking forward to your sign up.
Okay, well, I have the web page here.
Yes.
I hope there will be some incentive for me to do that. All right, that's about that. We're back right after now to take on another conversation. Do stay with us.
My name is Duchess and I'm a student. Just finished secondary school, processing admission. Learning fashion designing. So one particular day I was at work and everything, doing my job and all. Then I started palpitating, noticed I was sweating a lot. Then went to see a doctor. Then when they called my mom, like, oh, sorry, your daughter has an hole in her heart and everything.
It started a little over 2 years ago. I had a terrible business failure. I developed, I was not sleeping at night. I would just wake up, night sweating, restlessness. The most high point was breathlessness. You can't breathe, you can't sleep, you can't lie down. That happened over a year ago. I was rushed to the hospital.
The WHO recommends one surgeon to every 40,000 of population. In Nigeria, we currently have 10 active cardiac surgeons for a population of 200 million. So that's probably what? 1 to every 20 million people. So that's a huge gap. So in terms of personnel, we are a far cry from what is recommended. In terms of capacity of numbers of people who need surgery, it's even worse. So we need to increase capacity. 2 months ago, I had 14 people on the waiting list, and I'm doing just 2 a month. So if I'm doing 2 a month, it will take 7 months to get to patient number 14. So that's why the collaboration was a necessity.
The Duchess LASUF Waiting List Initiative is a collaboration between the Duchess International Hospital and the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. Its purpose is to bring affordable heart surgery to the masses, to the population, many of whom would not normally be able to afford this level of care. What we have tried to do through this initiative is to cut down that waiting time for patients by moving their procedures across to the private sector. So in effect, they have the benefit of a fantastic service like you can have at the Duchess International Hospital at no additional cost. And then they're able to benefit directly from the level of service and care that a patient can expect in a high-end private sector hospital.
Right now I'm feeling better. The pain is not there. The injury is actually healing and everything. Throughout the procedure and everything, I felt chilled. I felt safe. I didn't feel the tension of, okay, I'm going to have an open heart surgery. It was very chilled, and Dr. Falashe did it, and here I am.
I walk now unaided. No panting, no breathlessness. I'm as fit as a fiddle.
The collaboration we have with the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital is intended actually to extend across a wide range of specialties and services. We happen to be starting with cardiac surgery. We're very pleased that is extremely successful right at the start. But yes, there is every intention to spread this across to a wide range of services.
That was the Duchess Hospital, and they are actually the ones we're talking about right now. Remember, they came and told us about some surgeries they were having, and they were proud, very proud to tell us that the vice president actually had his surgery at their hospital. Well, they have other things coming up, and they're here today to talk about this new thing that they have. They have this waiting list initiative, which the CEO is here to tell us about. Welcome, Dr. Tokunbo Shitobe.
Thank you for having me, Alara. It's been a year since I last sat in this chair.
A year already?
How many cruises have you been on between then and now?
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you all give me a break?
No, we're not giving you any break, because every time you take a break, you take a cruise.
Dr. Shitobe.
Having disarmed you.
The waiting list initiative is what we're here to talk about.
Of course.
Okay. So you can cruise, Anyway, you were saying something. Go ahead.
Do carry on.
So tell us about this initiative, waiting list initiative.
Right, okay, so it's the Duchess Waiting List Initiative for Life-Saving Open Heart Surgery. Permit me to...
It's only for open heart surgery?
Well, to begin with, but it's for all complex surgical procedures. But
okay.
Allow me to explain it by using a practical example. So let me tell you a bit about Precious. Precious is a very bright 12-year-old girl, very precocious in SS1, actually, who was born with what we call an aneurysm of the ascending aorta. The aorta is the largest artery in the body. It trunks straight from the left ventricle. Now, a normal size aorta at that age is about 2.5 centimeters. When it reaches about 4 centimeters, it's dilated. If it reaches 5, it's an aneurysm. It needs surgery. Beyond that, there's a 10% risk of rupture per centimeter per year. Precious has an aneurysm of 8 centimeters.
Whoa. God.
And it was literally squashing her heart. Now, the good news is that yesterday at the Duchess Hospital, there was groundbreaking open heart surgery. Dr. Nzewi, Professor Falashe, and the cardiothoracic team successfully repaired that aneurysmal dilatation. It's unheard of anywhere in the world, actually, at that age, particularly. So this is really good news. Now, that was made possible because of the waiting list initiative. She originally presented at the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital about 6 weeks ago. She's been managed there between them and us over the last 6 weeks. The transfer was made across about a few days ago, and the operation was performed at the Duchess Hospital successfully yesterday. This is a completely combined effort between the Duchess Hospital, Lagos State University Teaching Hospital. What that means is what we're actually doing is that we are moving patients who would otherwise have had to wait lengthy periods of time in the public sector across to the private sector, so they can have their surgical procedures, beginning with open heart surgery, at no greater cost to them than they would have had to pay in the public sector. And what it means to them, particularly, is that they can use all of the wonderful facilities and expertise that we have at the Duchess in the private sector, and we give that to the benefit of the masses who would otherwise have had to suffer for a lengthy period of time. So that, in a nutshell, is what the waiting list initiative is.
Is this some kind of corporate social responsibility thing, or who's paying for this?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing that I will say is that as a responsible organization, and we are the direct beneficiaries of tons of funding and support from the central bank and the Bank of Industry, we have a responsibility to pass that on. So the onus is on us, really, to reach out into the public sector, to build these bridges. We also ensure that we try very hard to reach into the third sector as well as corporate organizations. So it's a real collaborative effort, and that really is how we are going to be able to afford the cost of complex healthcare and surgical procedures in this country, considering the fact that healthcare is chronically underfunded.
What gave birth to this concept?
Right. Okay. Again, let me paint a bit of context around this. Average life expectancy in this country is about 55. The median age is about 18. That means half of the population under the age of 18 years. Per capita spend on healthcare is about $70 per person. Compare that with the average OECD country, that's about $11,000. So there isn't enough funding going into healthcare. HMO premiums can just about pay for decent primary care, but it doesn't really extend into secondary and tertiary care. So the grown-up question is, how precisely do we pay for healthcare in this country? Huge proportion of patients are in the private sector. Tertiary care, facilities like ours account for less than 0.5% of the total healthcare provision in the country. So how do we give the masses the benefit of this wonderful service? Well, it's us. We have to go and build the bridges, find ways in which we can bring money in from the private sector, from the corporate sector, and pass these services on to the patients. So it really has come out of the need to pay for complex healthcare on behalf of the population.
And I'm sorry, this may not be a question you want to answer, but a sizable number of people watching you right now holds the opinion that some medical practitioners in public hospitals put cogs in the wheel so that they can direct them to their own private interests. How then what kind of partnership do you get from the practitioners, not just the institution now, but from the practitioners within, these facilities in the public sector?
Okay. All right. So the Duchess Hospital is a collaborative project. We set out from day one to work collaboratively with hospitals and practitioners in the public sector. So we have, for example, a memorandum of understanding with the Lagos State University Teaching Hospital that allows us to cross-fertilize teaching and training, expertise, knowledge capacity building. And what that does, that it gives us a chance to build a governance framework. There's an accreditation process. We have a responsibility to treat and to deliver care to the public. So there's a gateway there that we man very, very closely. And we find that once the governance is in place, practitioners really want to practice responsibly. But to answer your question directly, yes, there probably is a lot of moral hazard out there. It's human nature, but we do our best to ensure that none of those practices seep into our hospital.
Okay. Now, how do you select the people on the waiting list? How many people are on the waiting list? Who comes up with the waiting list?
Okay. So, given the resources that exist in the public sector, let's take open heart surgery, for example. We have a partnership with LASUF. They're doing some amazing work, but the capacity they have can probably only allow them to do 2 or 3 procedures every month.
Wow.
In the last few weeks, within the first few weeks of the program, we were able to do 12 procedures. That is cutting down that waiting list by at least 6 months. Since we started our program at the Duchess, we've conducted 28 procedures. Now, think about the pace at which the public sector is able to move and relate that to the number of cases we've been able to do. Do the maths. It makes absolute sense. But we do need to get everyone involved. So our appeal, of course, is to the private sector, colleagues, to the third sector, corporate organizations. And we're getting patients from all over the country. So the gateway to this waiting list initiative, of course, is a public hospital system. We encourage people to ask about the waiting list initiative at the public hospitals. We expect that consultants will refer into us, okay? And we have ways in which we jointly assess the cases, means tests as well, and attempt to prioritize who needs what. It's a significant undertaking, but we are winning at it.
So it's the public hospital that determines who is referred to the Duchess?
Absolutely, because, I mean, the waiting list is in the public sector. So we have that collaboration and that communication going on all of the time.
Do
we will
people
assess
have to
the
pay
cases.
to get on the list?
Do people have to pay?
Pay to get on the list?
Yes, well, what we guarantee is that people pay no more than they would have had to pay in the public sector. Okay, so, and it's done everywhere in the world. The NHS has a waiting list in which it moves patients across from the NHS into Bupa. Okay, as far as you're not charging the patients anymore, it makes no real difference. But the difference it does make is that they then have the benefit of the fantastic services and facilities you have in the public sector. Okay, and they get their procedures done in timely fashion.
I come back to that question because, and I'm sorry, maybe it's the pessimism in me that is playing up. As Alero has indicated earlier, there is no free lunch in Freetown.
Of course.
You should have waited 6 months, by which time you could be dead. But now you can have this expedited.
Yes.
And you just put my name on the list free of charge?
Free of charge? Well, it's at no additional cost to the patient. The public hospitals also want to get these patients done.
That's the hospital.
Yes.
How about the practitioners?
The practitioners? I see. You are still concerned about the fact that practitioners...
I am concerned.
Okay.
Shouldn't I be concerned?
Graft.
Shouldn't I be concerned?
About the practitioners?
Yes.
Okay. In what sense? Sorry.
I just told you, and you get it. So... Go ahead.
Well, the practitioners also want to serve their patients.
Okay.
We have a direct relationship with the hospitals as well, and we do our best to act in the interests of the patients.
Anyway,
In the interest of
always in the interest of the patient.
Okay. So that done and said, you said this waiting list is how old now?
Okay, we started working on it about a year ago. It's taken quite a lot of planning, okay, and we officially began last November.
Okay, so it's about a
year
year.
It's
now.
about a year now.
Okay, so you're concentrating on the heart at the moment, and you say you're going to move it on from there.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
where do you intend to move it to next?
Okay. All forms of complex surgical procedures, anything and everything that we can offer at the Duchess Hospital. At the Duchess, of course, we have 5 well-equipped theatres. We have the expertise to offer complex laparoscopic surgery, for example. But we wanted to prove the concept by beginning with open heart surgery. Open heart surgery is incredibly complicated surgery as it is. So we've stayed there for now, but we intend to move it on to complex abdominal surgery very, very soon.
Does this initiative have a terminal point, a time that it ends?
Okay, well, it is our hope, actually, that this is a long-term sustainable program. But of course, it will rely on our partnerships with the corporate sector and with charities. So, for example, last week there were 9 cases done at the Duchess, and that was a collaboration between us, LASUF, and a charity called Save a Heart Foundation. Of course, they make their contribution in expertise, in consumables, and the important thing is that we keep the cost low for the patient. As we said, no more than they would have had to pay in the private sector.
Okay. Now, what other procedures, you talked about complex procedures, what other procedures are you hoping to get into?
Okay. So, for example, there's complex colorectal surgery for advanced cancer of the bowel. Okay, we have the facilities for that. We would hope that we would be able to move it on into that. Complex gynecological surgery as well. But as I've said, we've stayed with open heart surgery for the last few months to a year. It's working, and we're hoping that we can move it on from there.
Are you suggesting that if LASUT, for instance, suggested surgery for some form of cancer now, you would take it on?
I think it's really important. I think back to the question you asked, or what you were alluding to earlier, we would always look at the governance around the referral. First of all, you consider the patient, you consider the facilities you have, consider the point of referral. Is this something that you can do and offer to the patient that would offer a reasonable prognosis? Is this something that can reasonably be done at the Duchess? We would look at all of that in coming to a joint decision about whether we take this on. This young girl that I described, whose case I described earlier, we really needed to give a lot of thought to it. As I've said, it's never been done anywhere before. But we needed to think, well, are we giving false hope here? Is this something that, given the services and facilities we have, is this something that for which we could offer a reasonable prognosis? The joint and collaborative answer was yes, and we went ahead. So it's not a Duchess Hospital project or a LASUT project or a third sector project. It really is a metaphor for how the health economy in this country needs to work together in order to bring down the cost of healthcare and move healthcare forward. So we would consider each case on its own merit, is the answer.
From your experience, is heart problem a common problem in Nigeria?
Incredibly so.
Wow.
And I think actually this is the reason we've started there. If you think about the risk factors for heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, raised cholesterol, not to talk about all of the congenital and structural heart problems, that may well be in a population like ours about 20% of the population. Absolutely. Now, the pickup rate of heart disease is going up because we are getting more and more sophisticated in our approaches. We're getting more and more sophisticated equipment. But the prevalence of disease is there. There's a shift from our previous focus on acute infectious diseases now to chronic disease. There's a huge iceberg of risk that exists there. So if you think about all of the young people you know who at some point have just passed on. Quite a lot of that may have been heart disease. We're seeing quite a lot of young people with end-stage kidney failure, for example. Diabetes is a cardiovascular disease, so it's on the rise.
What do you think is responsible for that? 20% of the population?
Well, absolutely. I mean, first of all, the Afro-Caribbean population is, yes, susceptible to certain conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, that is true. The state of our healthcare system as well, chronically underfunded, does not help. So we can't sit back and simply wait for government to do it all for us. We need to take the initiative, and that really is what the waiting list initiative is about. Yes, it is tempting to sit back and be slightly cynical about it, think about the moral hazard that could come from the clinicians, but we have to do something. There is a crisis that we have on our hands here, and I think hospitals like the Duchess and others must take the lead in going ahead to try and offer solutions to this problem.
You said you also take cases from other hospitals?
Yes.
Has that initiative also started?
Well, direct referrals, or are we talking about the waiting list initiative?
No, it depends. So, you were the one that mentioned it the other time.
Yes, of course. We do receive referrals from hospitals all over the country, really, for simply because of the level of facilities and expertise that we have, and that's quite standard. But the waiting list initiative really is about us being proactive. We are creating a plan and saying to the population, well, the prevalence of heart disease is quite high. Prevalence of structural and congenital heart disease is reasonably high as well. Let's do something about it. Otherwise, these patients really do not get served. So there's a natural referral pipeline, but we're also being quite proactive about going out, seeking these patients and building bridges with the public sector.
These referrals that you receive from other hospitals, if they're not on the waiting list initiative, means that they're probably not going to get the same kind of bail that those on this list get, right?
Well, referrals from other hospitals. Okay, well, I mean, the waiting list initiative, of course, is supported by us, public hospitals, as well as corporate organizations, and we're actively seeking that funding and that support, simply because this is a group of patients that is particularly vulnerable. They have diseases and conditions that only a small fraction of the resources in the healthcare sector can serve. So if we're not proactive about that, there really is a big problem waiting for us. I mean, think about this 12-year-old who's just benefited from incredibly complex surgery. Without an initiative like this, it really would have been difficult to help her.
Well, all we can say now is Dr. Tokunbo Shitabe and Duchess Hospital, well done for helping Nigerians. Between you and LASUTH, and we know and we remember that when Babatunde Fashola was the governor of Lagos State, LASUTH broke fresh grounds in many areas, and it looks like they are still breaking fresh grounds. We wish you all the best, and we say more grease to your elbows.
Thank you very much.
We hope that by coming on this program today, you'll get more corporate organizations who are willing to partner with you in this life-saving work that you're doing.
That certainly is the hope. Thank you very much, Lara.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Dr. Tokunbo Shitabe, Chief Executive Officer, Duchess International Hospital, Ikeja. Sunrise will return in just a moment with another interesting conversation. Do stay with us.
Well, thank you for staying with us. Now, let's talk about data. Now, RAC Center is West Africa's best connected center and cloud-neutral data center. Do you understand what that means? Not yet. Okay. We're going to educate you today. Established in 2012, the company provides best-in-class data center co-location services. You know what co-location is? No, don't worry. Don't.
I do understand English.
I know you understand English. So knowing this gives customers a technically superior, physically more secure and lower cost environment for their information systems. There's a whole lot to unpack in what's been said so far. So let's bring on to have this conversation with us this morning Ezekiel Igboye, who is the COO of Rack Center. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, sir.
As well as Foluwaderigbe, Sales Director, Rack Center. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Now, you want to ask your questions now?
No, not yet.
Not yet. It's okay. So let's, for those who are wondering what a Rack Center is, help us understand that first.
So Rack Center is a data center company that provides co-location services. And rightfully so, you asked what co-location means. Co-location is a term that is used in the data center industry to showcase a facility that provides co-location services, connectivity, and interconnect services for the various industries. So traditionally, before Rack Center came on board, so we're talking 10, 11 years ago, what we had in the country was simply enterprise data centers, which were primarily built by various companies and not designed and built to any specific standards. The narrative at the time for Nigeria was not great because we did not have any credible co-location service data center that could provide that required international services to the industry. So that brought about the clear strategic vision for Rack Center to come into the country and provide that credible, intelligent services to the industry.
So what have been some of your most notable achievements over the past decade?
So we're actually celebrating 10 years since we went live.
Okay.
And the key things that we've achieved was the first thing when we came on board was to change the narrative of co-location services in the country. At the time, there were no commercial international standard co-location services. And what we had at the time was enterprise businesses providing the services internally and not able to showcase the international requirements to meet what best-in-class services actually means. So what we've done is when we came on board, the key mandate was for us to design a facility, run a facility in line with best practice, where we use the international standards to benchmark all the key criteria from a design to build to operate services. So in the last 10 years, one key major achievement that we are extremely proud to showcase is that we've been uptime for 10 years with no single downtime at all. That is a true key milestone for any country to be able to showcase a data center that has consistently provided uptime for you. Without that required uptime, your businesses are down. And typically, when the data centers are not designed and operated at that level, you tend to have downtime, and that does impact the services that the clients have.
Mr. Igboye, pardon me for taking you back. I need to ask you a very basic question. What is a data center?
A data center is a facility where you host your infrastructure. So data center typically have the physical building, it has the cooling infrastructure, it has the power infrastructure, and then it has racks, where you bring either your servers, your storage, your connectivity platforms, and then you interconnect. And then you're able to consume services and provide services to your clients.
So I'm assuming that your clients would be our network providers, for instance.
The network providers are part of the clients.
Okay.
Pretty much every business that provides services to their customers are our clients.
Thank you.
Are you done?
I've got it. I'm with you now.
If only you knew. Anyway, let me come to you, Mr. Derigbe. How would you say Rack Center has helped to grow the Nigerian internet ecosystem?
Okay, so we've seen the adoption of technology and increase in the rate of internet users across the country. And this has necessitated, should I say, them requiring a fast and reliable access to data at a minimal cost and, of course, reduced latency. So to meet that objective of reduced connectivity costs and reduction in latency, we've built a 13.5 megawatt campus facility here in Ikeja and ensured that access to data internationally from what I'll call content and cloud providers. There are what we call the undersea cables. Their presence in Rack Center, we've ensured that the maximum presence of all those undersea cables currently exist in Rack Center. We also have the presence of tier 1, what I'll call 65 ISPs, internet service providers. We also have 2 independent, what I call interconnect exchange platforms, which of course enables the transfer and sharing of data between those the partners that do come onto that platform. So I think with that facility and with some of the services we do provide, over the years, it has created an enabling environment for businesses and individuals who desire access to the internet at what I would say a fast and reliable pace to enjoy those services.
Mr. Igboye said when he was talking a few minutes ago that you're celebrating 10 years and you're celebrating 10 years of uninterrupted service. This service you're talking to us about requires power. How have you, 24 hours, you know. So how have you been able to maneuver through that?
Well, like my colleague said, one of the key things is we've designed and built the facility on best international practice. And it involves quite a lot, apart from the resources in terms of human resources, the motivation, that is required, and also putting the processes and procedures, controls in place to ensure that things actually work without taking anything for granted. The honest truth is it's not been easy. In a country like ours currently, where we do have infrastructural challenges. Power is a very overflogged issue in this regard. It is therefore no mean feat for us to have been able to attain that 100% uptime without any downtime. And probably Ezekiel would also dwell more on that. But one of the key things, or one of the key elements we pride ourselves in, is what I would call trying to ensure that we maintain what I call the global standard practices in everything we do, which requires to procurement of the components that are required to run the data center, even to in relation with our customers, ensuring that, of course, that customer satisfaction is guaranteed. We're here for them to be able to make sure their businesses are also up and running. So once you have that at the back of your mind while you're there in the marketplace in the first place, I think it helps for you to meet the objective.
Okay.
And of course, we've also transmuted from diesel currently to gas.
You haven't answered my question.
Well, but maybe we should ask him.
How is it that you have power all the time in a country where we all complain about lack of power?
It's been a challenge, to be honest. And there were certain key decisions at the inception. So 11 years ago, when we looked at what our power architecture should look like, we did a clear analysis on the grid, the national grid. And at the time, unfortunately, reliability was approximately 25%. And the capex that's required for you to actually procure that was extremely huge. So 25% would not cut it because our clear objective was to provide 100% uptime. So we looked at what other alternative do we have as a business that we can have control over in terms of how we run, design, and maintain that infrastructure.
Generator.
And we came up with a diesel infrastructure at the time, which was a clear source of energy that we felt very comfortable that as long as we understand the processes, we understand the engineering, we can actually work. Exactly. We can actually work tirelessly to maintain it. So we came up with a very robust engineering design in the diesel infrastructure where we had what is called N+2. In engineering terms, N means the capacity that's required to run the infrastructure, and then we have +2, meaning we have additional
Excess.
2 backups that can support the infrastructure should it go down. We went further to the UPS system where we also had redundancy in terms of the UPS, and we built a very complex, robust diesel management system where we had 4 independent diesel farms with interconnect platforms that allows us to be able to isolate any of the diesel tanks should we have contamination. Not only that, we went further to have a diesel lab where we have clear designed tools to be able to test every aspect of the biodiesel content in the diesel. And if it doesn't pass, we reject it. We also went further to engage with the key suppliers as well. So the value chain, we looked at the value chain. We engaged with the key suppliers and we had clear SLAs with them in terms of the delivery process. And to buttress the final point, we have a very, very skilled technical team that understands how to deal with issues when they happen. We have a clear process, because in the data center world, 80% of downtime is caused by human error. So you have to have a clear process and governance in place on how your team manages that infrastructure. With that, we were able to sustain and build that robust infrastructure on diesel. But moving forward, because of sustainability is extremely key in our agenda as a business, we believe very strongly in environmental friendly sources of energy. We've now moved over from diesel into gas. So currently we run the facility on gas infrastructure, piped gas into our facility, and diesel is only backup, which we rarely use now. So we are truly in our journey to become green.
I shudder to imagine the cost that you must have. I don't want to know. I can almost be sure that it could run a country, what you spent in the past 10 years. But talking about sustainability, is that all? That must be just one of the sustainability efforts that you have.
Yeah, so we have a clear strategic vision on ESG, environmental social governance, where from the onset, we've designed our facility with that in mind. So we have, from our lighting system, we have lighting system that takes into account sustainability, where we have smart systems that ensures that we don't waste energy. Secondly, our cooling infrastructure as well is the technology for our cooling infrastructure requires on-demand consumption. So we're not just cooling the entire data center randomly. There are sensors in every key areas of the data center that determines the cooling requirement for that specific area. And that sensor triggers what's called a building management system, which is the heart of the monitoring of the environment. Triggers that request to the cooling system to allow the required cooling. So it's cooling on demand, so we're not just constantly cooling the environment. That's another way we've looked at it. Also, in our current expansion, we have taken green initiatives very seriously in the design of that. I'm proud to say that RAC Center is the first in sub-Saharan Africa today to have designed a building that is compliant to IFC Edge. So the IFC Edge initiative is around buildings that are built with green technology in mind.
Okay.
And the design that we have now allows us to save 41% in energy, 35% in water, and 40% in sustainability-enabled biodiesel content as well. So that design clearly shows that the building that we're having now, which is our new expansion, is in line with the green technology. And we're still innovating. That's another key thing. We constantly innovate and look out for additional and new renewable energy components that we can integrate to our facility as well.
It's interesting that you bring in the green into it, because I was going to ask you about your carbon footprints. We're talking about net zero in how many years? In about 8 years. So you are in the tech world. So what are the initiatives that you are taking or that you have taken towards reducing your carbon? You've mentioned the energy that you've switched to gas, for instance.
Yeah.
What are the other initiatives that you have taken?
So we're also looking at other renewable systems that we can actually integrate into what we have today. So we're consistently exploring. Also, we do regular audits, both internal and external audits on the ESG platform that we have, to look at the environment and how we are consistently reducing our carbon emission to the environment. We get those reports. We are fully compliant to NESRA, which is the National Environmental Agency that is responsible for environmental conditions. The last gentleman that was here the other time talked about noise levels and the decibels and stuff like that. We ensure that we comply to those clear parameters that have been set by the required agencies, and we consistently monitor our entire environment to see how we can actually do things more efficiently and better as well.
Let me ask you, Mr. Aderigbe.
Yes.
For those who are wondering, why are data centers important for driving digital transformation in Nigeria?
I think one of the key things or one of the key elements anybody will want to look at is what I would call reliability of the service, and also to have some form of resiliency with regards to their daily operations. Prior to now, like 11, 12 years ago, most of all the companies virtually had on-premise hosting of their infrastructure, which gave them access to data, either to internet service providers or to their cloud-based services. With data centers, what that has done is create an ecosystem where you have access to multiple service providers. And of course, that ensures some form of competitiveness with regards to those internet service providers, ensuring that they meet the best standards in delivering those services to those customers. Also, in terms of cost, the cost of providing those services to each and every company, because it's elements of scale. So instead of having to have what I would say connectivity to each and every of this, you can just come to a data center, sit in that data center. So I would always want to break this down like a realtor who builds a facility and allows vendors to come and market their goods, right? And then you also create an enabling environment for customers to be able to come in. And that environment ensures security, there's good convenience, there's good parking. So that's basically what we do. Now, we're not in compete with the internet service provider. That's why we say we're career and cloud neutral data center. So we allow the internet service providers to come in, we allow the enterprises to come in, we allow government institutions to come in. So it's like a marketplace.
Okay.
So I have services to deliver, and then you have the users who are going to procure those services. Mm-hmm. And that is why you're creating that enabling environment. And we've seen, even from the realtor point of view, advent of malls. People are beginning to share that experience going to the malls, because when you go there, you're going to one-stop shop, and you're having varied services that are being delivered to customers. That's exactly what we do from that technology standpoint.
Okay. I want to, take you up on this. I know that we're out of time, Mr. Egboye, but I hope this is one of your sustainability initiatives. One of your key messages is that you are investing in the development of local talent, training and hiring Nigerians to fill key roles in your data centers. How's that going?
Excellently well. It's a clear mandate from the shareholders, which we hold very seriously. We have a clear CSR program that we consistently monitor and ensure it's implemented. Right now, we have 3 CSR programs that are running. The first one is what we call the Youth Empowerment Program, where within 1 kilometer radius of our facility, we have brought in 150 youths where we're training them in technology, understanding the various aspects of technology. And we've partnered with a few other organizations to ensure that after the 12-week program, they will be absorbed into this organization to continuously learn and have hands-on training on those skills. We also absorb them as well.
Okay.
We've also got another program currently going on for SMEs. So we've also picked out 50 SMEs where we've come up with trainings and tools that will help them enhance the way they do business from a technology standpoint. And thirdly, we have another program which is linked to our current build of the data center, where within the 1 kilometer radius as well, we've picked out 50 unskilled people and have going through training programs on the various civil works, plumbing, carpentry, all the required physical work to actually build a data center.
Okay.
They're going through that program as we speak, and once they complete the program in 2 weeks' time, they will be absorbed into the current workforce that is building our facility as well.
Okay. Well, clearly, we need like maybe 5 hours to discuss everything RAC Center, but for now, we have to thank you very much.
Thank you.
We can only wish you all the best. Ezekiel Eboye is COO of RAC Center, and he's here with Folu Aderigwe, Sales Director, RAC Center. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
So we're back in a moment to take on another conversation. Do stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. People work extremely hard to acquire assets, grow their wealth, and build businesses and empires. With all that kind of hard work, one would expect that they would channel the same kind of energy, time, and resources into having a structure that will cater for these assets and then ensure seamless transfer to future generations. But it seems that many of us do not pay attention to all of this. That's why we're bringing you this segment today to talk about what we should be paying attention to when we have made all the effort to build our assets. Mutiat Olatunji is the private trust specialist from FBN Quest Trustees. Good morning.
Good morning,
and thank you for joining us this morning. You say estate planning. When I first got the lineup for today's program and I saw estate planning, I thought to myself, oh, is this person an architect or a builder, or what kind of estate is she going to come and tell us how to plan?
Oh, are they coming to our estate?
They're coming to our estate. But apparently, nothing to do with that at all.
Nothing at all.
So, estate planning, what are you talking about?
Okay, so like you said, the misconception that a lot of people have when they hear estate is that, oh, you're talking about development, buying a land, but that is not what estate planning is. So in describing what estate planning is, let me try to paint a picture. I know that growing up, even now, we've seen friends, neighbors, uncles, aunties pass on, and then the next thing is that people are scrambling, I want this one, daddy wanted to give me this, I'm supposed to take this. Or you even have friends, or your kids have classmates, and they'll just come and say one day that, Mommy, do you know so-so person doesn't come to school again because his daddy has passed and they can no longer afford tuition? We see these things on a daily basis. These are things that we can relate to. That is what happens when you do not have an estate plan in place. Now, so what is estate planning? There's estate and there's planning. Estate is all the assets that you own. So liquid and non-liquid assets. Your liquid assets, money is in your bank, pension, insurance that you've taken up, investments, shares and stock. Those are your liquid assets. Your non-liquid assets now is the real estate, which is just a portion of estate planning. Then that is defining estate. Then what is planning? Planning is that conscious effort that you take to ensure that, yes, I've worked hard for all these assets. How do I collate all these assets? We all have things scattered here and there. Maybe your loved ones, your children, your beneficiaries don't even know about one investment or one asset somewhere. So planning is that conscious effort that we need to take as individuals to ensure that all our assets are properly documented, they are listed. We decide who the beneficiaries of this asset is or who should be, and then when do we want them to have access to the property or to the assets, and how do we want them to access it?
So when we're thinking about estate planning, what are the things that we should consider?
Okay, so the first thing to consider is your assets. People have things that they don't consider or see as an asset. Someone will tell you, but I just have little funds in my bank. It's really nothing. I have a flat screen TV. The truth is that I was involved in a case where two people were fighting over a 32-inch black and white TV. It really did happen here in Nigeria. Yes.
Is it the same size of 32 inches that we all know?
Yes, the same
or is that
size.
the Lilliputian side?
No, the same 32-inch black and white TV. The owner of that TV didn't consider it as an asset, but the people that are fighting see it as an asset. People fight over so many things. Things that we might consider ridiculous, but in reality, it is not ridiculous.
Please go ahead.
So when you sit down and act, you realize that you actually do have a whole lot of things that are assets. People own phones. Phones worth millions. It's not an asset to you, but to someone that wants that phone or wants to inherit or benefit from that phone, it is an asset. Women have jewelries. All of these things are assets. So the first thing is to collate all your assets. When you collate your assets, you now determine who are the beneficiaries of this asset. During my lifetime, I am the first and I'm the primary beneficiary. But if anything happens to me at all, who do I want to give my phone to? Who do I want to get my pension? Who do I want to get my house? Who do I even want to get my car?
I don't care who gets it.
I'm wondering.
In fact, a lawyer once told me that even my wearing apparel.
Yes. Are your assets. Exactly.
Yes.
This one?
Yes. Yes.
But you know that not caring is what creates the chaos. Because currently in Lagos, there are two professors that have been in court for a while now because they cannot agree on how to distribute or share the asset that their mom left behind.
Maybe because they have too much knowledge. But, so when setting up an asset, or rather setting up an estate plan, what are the things to consider?
So, like I said, you have to consider your asset, you have to consider your beneficiary, but most importantly, you need to speak to a professional. Because people leave things to chance. People try to do it themselves.
Professionals like yourself.
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to that one. You show us your association membership. How does that differ from pensions and a will?
Okay. So a will is an estate planning instrument. When you are planning your estate, there are two instruments you can use. You can use a will and you can use a trust. The will is what everybody knows about. Let me write a will, let me write a will. But there's another instrument called a trust.
What's the difference?
So a will takes effect after the demise of a person.
Yep.
Your will can't come into effect while you're still alive.
Yep.
A trust can take effect during your lifetime. So you are the primary beneficiary. You are the settler of the trust. You see it work. So if, for example, you have people on a monthly basis that you pay allowances or you give stuff, you can make them beneficiaries of your trust. So the trust takes that responsibility away from you and pays directly to them, provided your trust is funded. Now, what also happens is that if anything happens to you, they have seamless access to that funds. So unlike the will that needs to be read and all of that, the trust just continues seamlessly. So that is a major difference. Again, there are some assets that cannot go into your trust. So he had mentioned pension. The current law in Nigeria is that before you can access a person's pension, you must get a grant of probate or a letter of administration. So your pension cannot go into your trust, but your pension can stay in your will. Your personal accounts as well will stay in your will. But other liquid assets, investments, you can even actively purchase properties in the name of your trust. So it is no longer in your name. It is owned by a trust. So it is distinct and different from you.
So how can the choice between a will and a trust, how can that depend on the beneficiaries and their unique needs?
Okay, so after you've collated your assets, you look at your class of beneficiaries. If you have kids that are minors and still in school, you ask yourself that if I just mention everything I have in my will, the transitioning period between when my will is ready, if anything happens to me, and grant of probate is obtained, what happens to them? What becomes of their education? In that instance, you can say, you know what, I'm going to set up an educational trust for my children where there's adequate fund. If anything happens to me, now that I'm even still alive, once my trust is funded, I send the bill to FBN Quest trustees. They settle it, and they just send me evidence of payment. And that also continues if anything happens to you. If you also have special needs children, there's going to be a time gap again between when your will is read and when probate is gotten. What happens to their needs? There are people that are dependent on you. You can decide to take care of all of those people in your trusts.
So, well, your mouth is sweeting now, but are there specific, excuse me, specific circumstances where one instrument, can be used over the other?
What we typically advise at SupremeCourt trustees is that you have both instruments, because both instruments complement each other.
As a will and a trust.
Yes, the will and the trust, they complement each other at every point in time. So again, your trust comes into effect during your lifetime. Everybody continues to enjoy whether or not you are there. Your will, there are certain things. So your asset class, your beneficiaries will determine which tool to use. But what we advise is that you use both tools.
Can SupremeCourt help towards a will?
Yes.
How?
Okay, so at SupremeCourt trustees, we have lawyers.
Oh, really? You do?
Yes.
I see.
We have lawyers at SupremeCourt trustees.
Why would you have lawyers? Just kidding.
And they are the ones in charge of the drafting, because even for the trust, there's a trust deed. That is the document that governs the agreement between both parties. It lists out what you, the settlor, want us, the trustees, to do, and it also lists out the details of your beneficiaries. So we help in drafting the will. We also help in structuring and also advising you on how best to structure and plan your estate.
So how does anyone begin the process of setting up an estate plan?
Okay, so setting up an estate plan is very simple. You can reach out to us on all social media platforms at SupremeCourt trustees. You can also check our website for reading materials.
What's your website?
legacyseries.fbnquest.com. So you have all the information you need about estate planning.
Legacy savings.
Legacy series.
Legacy series.
Yes.
Okay.
.fbnquest.com.
Okay. Okay. What am I going to find there?
So you find all reading materials. You can also drop your contact details. We'll reach out to you. Again, you can call us on 080.
We'll come to that one. This is your website.
Yes, that is it.
Okay.
So
where do I go?
Build the legacy that
About us, contact us.
Yes, get started.
Okay. So this is where you explain estate planning.
Yes.
And everything.
Yes.
Okay. And you also talked about the phone. Is there a place where we can get a form on this website?
Yes, so at the end of the website, there's a place where you can fill in your details and an expert will reach out to you almost immediately.
Okay. All right. I hope it's not the expert we are looking at on the screen right now, but you also talked about the phone number.
Yes, so the phone number is 080-54-000. That's 000-299.
Again?
080-54-000-299.
Which hours of the day can we call this number?
Working hours, both weekday and weekend, so anytime from 8 to 5.
Most people don't work on weekends. Forget that I'm here.
So weekdays and weekends between 9 and 5, you can reach us on that number. You can also drop a WhatsApp message for us on that number.
Okay.
What else did I want to ask you? Now, back to the will and the trust.
Okay.
You said you would advise a client to have both.
Yes.
Why?
Okay. So your will, again, comes into effect after your lifetime. And I'm going to give us a very practical example of why you should have a will and why you should have a trust. When Michael Jackson passed, he had a trust in place. That was what everybody knew he had. As at that point, people thought maybe he was bankrupt, he didn't have money. But guess what? His trust was well-funded. His trust was well-funded, and he also ensured that all the royalties that were going to come to him after his lifetime was going to be contained in his trust. So all the things that he could take outside the ambit of his will, he put everything in his trust, and he secured those assets. Until today, his beneficiaries are still getting benefit from all the things that he has worked for. His will contained just his bank accounts, little things that are very minimal and minor. Again, your will is a public document. So the moment a person passes, it becomes public. If you go on the internet and Google the will of some top lawyers or top personalities that have passed, you can see all the details there. So I can see what he gave his first child or what she gave her second child, and I can decide to pray on them. But a trust is private and confidential. It is private to the extent that if you don't want two beneficiaries to know what they are getting, except they tell each other, the next person would not know. Your asset is also protected when you set up a trust. So we say use both instruments, and we are here to help you plan your inheritance without hassles.
I like this. I like the sound of that one.
Which one?
The trust.
Well, I was going to ask her about trusts. I can see on your website there are 3 different trusts. Explain.
Okay,
there's family trust, there's children education trust, there's living trust. Is there a dead trust?
No, there's no dead trust.
Go ahead, please go ahead.
Okay, so you've seen 3, but you can even have as many types of trust as you want. I can decide that I want to set up a property purchase trust. And all I'm doing is putting money aside, knowing that that fund is going to be invested towards purchasing a property. So I can set up an educational trust saying that I want to secure the education and the future of my children, and this trust is just for their education. The good thing again about a trust is that all the funds, all the liquid assets that you put in your trust, they're invested. So it earns a return on investment. So the funds don't just lie there, they continue to grow. Then the family trust, I can say, my family is accosted to a certain lifestyle. We travel every vacation. There are certain things I buy them on an annual basis. I want that to continue. So I'm setting aside funds for that purpose to ensure that now that I'm alive, we'll all enjoy it together. We'll all go on vacation together, funded by the trust or sponsored by the trust. And even when I am no longer in the picture, they can continue to live their lifestyle.
So someone who wants to continue to go on a cruise can also plan it?
Yes.
Okay. I see also on your website, and now this is now your textbook, Islamic estate planning. How is it different from estate planning?
Okay. So there's the conventional estate planning and there's the Islamic estate planning. The basic and foundation is the same. Ensure that your assets are tidied up. So under Islamic law, there are perimeters for how your assets should be distributed. For example, for Muslims, the Quran already stipulates how your assets should be distributed under chapter 4. It states that 1/3 goes to this person, 1/4 goes to... However, the mistake people make is that how do we even distribute what you've not collated, what you've not listed? So yes, Islam already provides a blueprint of how things should be distributed, but then you must still have an al-wasiya, which is a will under Islamic law. So we have both tools on the conventional and all the Islamic parts, but the focus is the same. Ensure that you tidy up your assets, ensure that you list your beneficiaries, and ensure that you don't leave chaos when you pass on.
How about Christian estate planning?
So that's where you have the conventional. So that's typically the conventional estate planning, which is the wills and the trusts.
Okay. Now, generally, what are the misunderstandings or misconceptions that people have about this estate planning thing?
Okay, number one is when you talk to people about estate planning, you ask, do you want to kill me? Why do you want me to have a will? Why are you telling me to set up a trust? Are you planning to kill me? Well, the truth is nobody is planning to kill you. We're just saying put your house in order, tidy up your affairs, and ensure that you do not leave chaos. Number two is that they say, I brought up all my children very well. I just one husband, one wife. There's no chaos. They've grown up in love and harmony. We've seen an instance whereby one man, one wife, 4 children that are top in their profession are still fighting over their father's assets. They were all well brought up. So you only know your children.
They were all well off.
Yes, they are doing very well.
And they were still fighting for...
Yes, and the dispute has gone from one generation to the next generation. Yes. There's an estate that's been in court for over 5 decades now. And the worst part is that no beneficiary is going to be able to get anything. If you have a tenant that's been living in any of those houses, the tenant has become landlord himself.
They are living for free.
And you see state government acquiring some of these properties because miscreants are now staying in those properties. So that's what happened when you fail to have an estate plan in place.
That's number 2. Number 3.
So number 3, now to women. Women assume that they don't need to have an estate plan. This is peculiar to us. That my husband has an estate plan, my husband has sorted me out. What we fail to realize is that when something goes wrong, women are the greatest casualty. We are the ones that suffer the most. So what we tell people is that as a woman, have an estate plan. and also ensure that your spouse or your loved ones or anybody that is taking care of you also has an estate plan that caters to you, so that family members don't just come and turn your life upside down, because we see it happen on a daily basis. So for women, please plan your estates.
But suppose the woman doesn't have anything to plan.
Again,
I'm living with my husband. It's my husband's house. So what am I going to write a will or get it put in a trust?
you have monies in your account. You have investments.
My housekeeping allowance.
Yes, but you save from it. I know we women, we are very prudent. No matter how you still save something from it. You still have people that out of that little you save, you send to on a daily basis, on a monthly basis.
Okay, I have 500,000 naira in my account, so I should go and write a will because of...
Put it in a trust and earn return on investments, and your beneficiaries are named.
I'm sure that's the reason why most women don't write wills. Because they believe they have nothing to put in a will.
But even if you don't have anything to put in a will, you need to ensure that your husband has an estate plan that protects you. Because then it becomes double jeopardy.
But he won't tell me what he's got in his will.
He won't tell you, but he has a will, and you know your spouse, you know your husband, you believe that he'll protect you, and you'll protect your children, most especially the children.
I'm assuming that there's a lot of assumption going on right here.
The man will not tell his wife what is written in his will.
When two women are fighting over money matter in the studio. Okay, well, we can only, wish you, well about this thing. But, okay, so you've told us some of the reasons, but can you also tell us, maybe in a few words, what are some of the upsides to it? What are some of the benefits that accrue to the investor while still alive and when they pass?
Okay, so the benefit is that, number one, if you decide to use a trust, you see it work during your lifetime, you're able to make changes. You say, okay, let's give this thing a trial. Let me send my school invoice to you. Let me see how you pay it. Let me see how you manage all of this asset. Let me see how you administer this asset. Then you can make changes to your trust. That's an upside to having it. Number two is that your monies just don't lie fallow in the bank. When you put it in a trust, it earns return on investment. Again, another benefit is because those monies are in the trust and not in your will, your beneficiaries have seamless access to it. When we speak estate planning, one thing that is important is, what are your objectives? What do you intend to achieve with this plan? What assets do you have? And what are your aspirations for your beneficiaries? All of these things will guide you in ensuring that you have an estate plan in place. Because when you think of your assets and you think of your beneficiaries and you think of what your intentions are, you realize that not having an estate plan is actually going to be very chaotic. And having an estate plan with FBNQuest trustees is the best.
Okay. She could go on and on, but we better close.
Okay, thank you very much. Mutiat Olatunji, Private Trust Specialist, FBNQuest Trustees. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Sunrise will return in just a moment.
And that is our guest this morning, Ayodele Okundalaye. Okundalaye.
Yes.
The
sea goes round the world.
The sea goes round the world. Round the world.
Yes.
Okay.
Ayodele Okundalaye is my name, but Sako is my stage name.
Senior Advocate of Commerce.
Yes, but literally that was not the name from the beginning. It was
from the beginning. It was not.
It was not so from the beginning, but I realized it was Ayodele. So it was Sako. Sako is my stage name. It was a name that when I discovered I was going to become a comedian when I was in secondary school, and I saw the likes of Sir Alibaba. I saw the likes of Sir Alibaba. Yes, I call him Sir Alibaba because I can't call him he's my grand mentor, so it's easy for me not to call him that. Yeah, for me, I don't. So I call him Sir Alibaba. Yes, Alibaba, and then the likes of Mama Baba, Sonny Baba. There were a lot of Babas back then, and I said, my first name is Sunday, so do I want people to call me Sonny Baba? So I sat down as a teenager and I wrote down all my names, and my first name Sunday, my other name Ayodele. I'm an outcast. I'm partly Ondo, partly Delta. So I have an Igbo name called Chukwukamadu. Chukwukamadu means God is greater than man. And then my surname is Okundalaye. And
just the way I wrote it down, I just saw that it came out as Sako. And Sako, I began to say my name is going to be Sako for my stage name. And that's how I got the name. But when I got to University of Ilorin, like this video that I just played, that was at my performance in Aberdeen in 2017. The first boss I ever had as a comedian, MC Mark, gave me the name Senior Advocate of Comedy. He brought out a joke that I wanted to study law. Since I can't become a SAN, I'll become the Senior Advocate of Comedy. And I saw that it was working out. I didn't really like the name at first, but when I saw it was getting a lot of traction, I said, let's stick by it.
So,
we have gone to the beginning without even asking the question.
The beginning. I've been looking forward to this.
The beginning.
Looking forward, yes. So, are you one of those people who study
engineering?
Engineering.
I studied accounting and data processing.
One of them.
Yes, I'm one of them. But
if I brought you my books now, you could actually.
Okay, so no, because I've not practiced in a long time. So I tell you the truth, accounting was not something I should have done in the first place if I had proper counseling. Because I've always been if I had proper counseling. I loved literature. I used to teach literature as a student. Even while I was in school, I was teaching my friends literature. When I finished secondary school, I was a teacher teaching students writing like literature and I was good at that. But I
Why then did you choose accounting?
That was a course they had put in my mind that I was going to do accounting, so I can account for the things,
Mommy and daddy.
I don't want to put blames. I'm going to be 40 on Monday.
Your mother is watching.
I don't know if she's watching. I'm going to be 40 on Monday, and I don't want to start at this age. I shouldn't start. No, it's not correct. It's not start because basically I did the accounting, and I eventually I did a diploma course in theater act when I was done in Ilorin to realize that I should have. And by the time I was doing theater, I realized that I should have done this early enough because this time all my body was stiff. I couldn't do it's a lot of I celebrate the stage. No.
What did your body be stiff?
When you do I don't realize this is not what I should have been. No, I should have done this in my early teens, or maybe I was 19, 20. But this time, by the time I was going back to Unilag to do a course there, I was in my 25, 26. I just said to myself, I ran by the grace of God. I just focused on the comedy and the compare. But I've involved in not just being a comedian, I've involved to being a compare.
And you started far back as when?
Professionally, I started on the 1st of October 2005 at the Quara Hotels. That's where I started, where they paid me the sum of 5,000 naira. Yes, as a student, that was a big deal. 5,000 was a lot. Gosh. I can never forget that date. I did comedy for about 10 minutes and they said my money was 5,000. Oh my God. So when my mentor, Oli Malam, gave me a job of 30,000 a few months after, my enemy wanted to
millionaire
30,000 to do joke. Even if they say I should preach in the church, I will preach because that 30,000 I'd taken 5,000 from 2005 to 2008 when I met my mentor, my mentor, Oli Malam, and he said, "Can I come to comedy in Lekki for 30,000?" No, and I said 30,000. I wanted to be sure if it was mine. So when they paid the money into my account,
I will go to the moon.
Mama, I withdrew 1,000 to be sure that it was my money because I'm shocked that the bank did not even call me to say somebody hacked my account to pay that amount because my mom had stood on the queue before to pay like 200 naira into my account so I can withdraw 1,000. So now getting 30,000, and then those few days to the day, my mentor called me and says they want me to actually host the event. I say even if they say I should preach, they should give me Bible text to preach that day I will preach. So I did that. They gave me souvenirs. They gave me a lot of gift after to do comedy, and then they gave me my other job in Abuja to do comedy for 120,000. That was the first time I took a flight, 2008. They said I should take a flight. I said, why would I take a flight when I can do Lagos, Ilorin to Abuja? I didn't understand. I was used to going to Abuja by road. When they took my first flight, oh God, the money was too much. When they gave me my first 90K job, you don't know that. I was rehearsing. I messed up the performance because the money was too much. I messed it up. If they had given me 5,000, I would have killed it. Performed, but that money was too much. Can you give me 120,000? You want to kill me? You want to finish my destiny? But I realized it was capacity. As you grow, you realize that there's part where you build capacity for the amount that you're attracting. And thank God for mentorship. Mentorship changed the whole game in my life.
When did you decide for comedy?
I decided comedy in University of Ilorin. Back as a student, I started hosting most of the departmental events.
And why?
Yeah, this is something I love to do. So whether you pay me or you don't pay me, I love to do it. I used to get crash events, go to events. When I see a flyer or a banner of any event, I'll go meet them. I say, I'm a comedian. Do you mind if I host your event for free? I've hosted events in London for free. I've gone to London. I've gone to America. London, United States of America, United Kingdom. Yes, even the US. I've gone because this is what I love to do. I've gone to May 3rd or May 4th. I saw before that week or that few months before, I saw a banner of an event in London, and I said, I've not done any comedy, in London, and I would like to go to London. So I reached out to my mentor, MC Mark is now in London. I said, I want to come for this event. I said, I booked my flight. And just while I was booking my flight, somebody wanted me to do something for them. So I did the event. When I was going to the place, the woman didn't know me. And she introduced me like, we don't know him. He just came from Nigeria. You know how somebody introduced you and say, in case it's not funny, I don't know. They didn't know I
She had already denied you.
Yes, so just, as she said, the way she introduced me was the way she was running. He said, he just came in from Nigeria this morning. This person, she's very, MC Mark, he asked me to call him, please give me 5 minutes. And they didn't know that I'd prepared. That's why it's good that you prepare yourself, and I'd prepared. And then as soon as I got on stage, I'm a Christian, so you pray that simple prayer. And then as I got on stage, less than 10 minutes, you know how they say you have killed the event. I killed the event, and while they were enjoying it, I just say, thank you so much, that's my time. So I left as soon as I walked, and you know how you were very humble before you started. There's this pride that wants to come. I just held myself together. I went as I was walking down to the toilet, she just came to meet me. I said, they want you back. Yeah. They want you back. I said, if they want me back, you have to pay.
Now let's talk money.
I just said, you have to pay because I booked my ticket. Who's going to? I said, you have to pay. He said, I'm going to pay you. Please come back again. So as soon as another comedian, I came back as they were enjoying it. Guess what? The next year, this lady put me on the bill. So the next year, they invited me to come and host. So
this time they paid your
This time they paid, yes. Oh, wow, obviously. They had to pay. All right, so I'd done those things. I did locally but internationally, because sometimes this is something I love to do, whether you pay me or you don't pay me. I love to make people laugh. I love to make people happy. It's been, I was in the choir. I used to introduce a song. I used to anchor a concert in church. I still do till date. So it's something I love to do. Comedy has always been something that, like I said, I wish I had to go to school. I had to go to a 6-month course to learn presentation skills, audience analysis when I was done in school to just, work more myself.
So,
wow.
What kind of feedback have you gotten so far about your brand of comedy? Mark my words.
Yes, my brand of comedy. So for me, one of the things that I stand for, I've evolved to just, like I said, not just being a comedian, I've been involved to being a compere with a sense of humor. And one of the feedback that I get is I don't insult people. People have had some encounters with some comedians where they're on their seats because of the things that's coming out from them. And you can't blame them. They are not informed. They're not well informed. If they're informed, they realize that everybody in the crowd is very important. As everybody, both the person in the back that you can't even see. So for feedback from me, because of the values that I stand for, the values of doing clean comedy, realizing that I'm a professional, this is what feeds my family. I travel to countries from this job, so I know that it's a service I'm rendering. And so the feedback I get is, Sako will always deliver, will not insult anyone. I do a lot of senior pastors events, both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So the feedback is, Sako will do clean comedy, will not insult anybody, we're not going to make anybody feel unease.
What challenges have you faced in the course of being a comedian?
For me, challenges is one of the things that make me better. I'm glad I don't live in Challenge in Ibadan, but for people that live in Challenge in Ibadan, I celebrate her.
You have hit her low because she studied in Ibadan.
I went to University of Ibadan.
She's
also... yeah, for my brother's convocation. It was my brother it was my brother. I didn't go. It was but I went to Ibadan Poly. So I went to Ibadan Poly, but it's just by the fence. It's just that fence in Ibadan Poly in Songo.
There we are.
Mama, no, we have to be. So the challenges for me is a lot of people believe that you have to be popular before you begin to get some kind of gigs, some high-profile event. But I realized that you don't have to be popular to get. People that know you know what you stand for. All right, I've seen a lot of popular events that do not do the kind of event that I do, and I'm being paid. Okay, so people believe in the industry, challenges, you're not popular. And I like the fact that I'm not that popular because I can go anywhere and eat my corn, eat my bolly. You don't want to
yourself.
Be myself. I'm always myself. Just lately, I go to Canada and I see somebody staring at me at the airport and saying, I know you. At the train station in the UK and said, I know you. I said, okay, don't be popular. But I just believe that the challenge, as you grow, the challenges gets you better. Because of the mentorship that I do, I also mentor. I've enjoyed mentorship, so I do the same. I multiply it in great effect of mentoring people. That challenges get you better. All the challenges we had was for a purpose for us to be a blessing to other persons. So for me, I see those challenges as one of those things that will come and go.
There's something that he does that I've seen on social media platforms, Facebook, even I think I've seen on Instagram as well. He does matchmaking at weddings.
Yes, I do.
You will just some random fellow from here and some random fellow from there.
I do that spontaneously.
What happens?
And guess what? I get few years after I get a call and said, you match-made us at an event and we're getting married. I tell you the truth. I kid you not. My greatest mistake was not recording or, documenting that journey. I have over 130,000 subscribers right now on Facebook because of the matchmaking. And this is something, and it came from a place of trying to solve a solution because I solve a problem. So when I host events, weddings, you know how you've hosted a lot of events, you've lost weddings, and sometimes you want to get bored and says, what can I do to make it lively? You know how from bringing the parents of the bride, parents of the groom, chairman, and it just happened every Saturday. So I said to myself, what can I do to those sweets? And I started this matchmaking randomly. She tossed the bouquet, and then the guy catches, or the lady catches the bouquet. And I said, are you engaged? Are you in a relationship? And he says, no. Why not? Well, let's look for a friend, the responsible friend of the groom. Let's do it. Let's prepare for another marriage. And poof, it happens. And the feedback is amazing. People say, we cannot take you out of the scene because you were there, you made it connect. Yeah, so I don't do the I follow up. But at the time, people wanted me to start doing that. I get a lot of mails, message, please matchmake me. But I realized there's a lot of work. So it's now a level that I have to go to school to learn all the skills on how to matchmake, because it's another level. I do it on the surface. But now, if I'm going to counsel, I have to begin to use for genotype. I have to be able to trust. So people trust me right now to choose a guy for them.
Can you imagine?
But I had to, because I had to seek counsel also, so I don't get into trouble. Yeah, no, it's well.
He has a crystal ball, guys.
Yes.
He has a crystal ball.
Yes.
He's deceased. Sorry.
In the meantime, there are many comedians coming up.
Yes.
Isn't the space getting a bit overcrowded?
It is actually. There are a lot of comedians coming up. Anyone can stand up to be a comedian, but I say that there's a space for everyone, depending on the kind of audience you want to catch. So there are comedians, but there are people that will not get to some places because of not doing some right things. Like I said, anybody can be watching. Anyone can get into an audience. So it's how prepared are you to get to that top? There are classes in the comedy industry. There are people that will not call some people because they do not feel that they fit into. A client will be sure before they call you to an event to be sure that this person fits into our event. So, which I know that our grand mentor has tried so many times, the likes of Sir Julius Agu, Sir Basoj, Sir Teju Babyface, Sir T.A. are done to try to put a structure where we have, before you come into calling your craft as a comedian, there should be some things you should have passed. Because for you, when you have gone through that and there's a structure, nobody's going to underpay you. And another challenge is being underpaid in the industry. So in spite of comedians coming up. We can't stop them. There are generations coming up. I got into the space even when we had comedians on ground, but I still got my space. I still grew through that space. I've been doing it now for close to 17 years. So there's a space for everyone. Is how well do you want to get to that place where you can call yourself a comedian, A-class comedian. There are A-class, there are B-class comedians, C-class comedians. So you can't stop it. You can't stop the market because there's no proper structure in the industry. But we're together. We're together when we want to be together.
Are you thinking of going into acting?
Something I love to do. Something I love to do.
But you started a little something.
I started, but it's a lot of work. I have great respect for actors and actresses. I have great respect for them. I was on a set. I was supposed to take a 5-minute scene. I was there from morning. If I went a day before, when they were calling me to ask what I would eat for morning, afternoon, and night, I said, no, I'm only coming to do one thing. and I'm sure the lady was smiling, and this guy doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Because I'll just do a 20 minutes or do a 2-hour thing, and I'm off. And they paid me in advance. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. But I love to act. It's something I want to do. My wife and I do. We do a lot of called the Funny Couple Ninja, where we do a lot of things about things that work in marriages and things that singing. My wife sings, so we try to do a lot of. But acting is work. I tell you, I give respect to anyone that the skit makers.
Well, let's stick with what you do. So, what's next from Sako? We have just about 2 minutes.
Okay, so I'm planning the Sako and Friends event where we have friends that I've worked with in the past 17 years come together to celebrate, to thank God for the journey. I also launching a book where I teach, because daily I teach also on YouTube, where I teach people on how to host the event, how to host burial, concert, anything that has to do with how to. I do that. If you type how to anchor weddings, you go on YouTube, and that's my way of giving back. I have people in Canada that reaches out to me in the US and say, your video. I was in London last week at an event on Saturday, and the person says I was going to anchor a wedding in London. I'd not met her before. I said I was going to anchor a wedding and a birthday, and I just typed how to anchor a birthday, and he said your video helped me. That for me is one of the things that I'm excited I'm doing. It's emotional when I begin to talk about it, that this guy that they saw as a clown, is now being a blessing. I was in Atlanta in August. A guy flew in, drove all the way from the US to pick me up at the airport in Toronto, because he wanted to surprise me, to say thank you for being a blessing from watching my videos. He can basically say my words. Somebody has consumed your content and is saying the things that you do word for word. So I'm converting those things, adding some other things to launch a book, and say how to be some secrets that entertainers won't tell you. You can't hide the secrets for. Yeah, there are trade secrets, but there are things that can be a blessing to people, that people say, because of your book, I decided to take this decision. So I'm doing that over the weekend, and that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Remember those books for dummies?
Yeah.
DIY for dummies,
yes.
Public relations for dummies.
Yes,
so you're going to be how to.
Yes, how to.
For dummies.
Not for dummies.
I'm just for compare comedians and
how to.
Yes, yes, how to. Yes.
Well done.
Thank you so much, man.
Ayodele Okundalaye is popularly known as Sako, and he's been our Artist of the Week. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I do appreciate you, Mama.
Oh, this event is when?
On Sunday, tomorrow.
Oh,
tomorrow. You have a 4th seat. We can get to interview you. You can just let me know how many people you're coming with.
So that's been the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today. I'm Ayo Makinde.
And I am Alero Idu, wishing you a very blessed week. See you next week.
I'm Sako.